Vyrah reporting for duty. Another time together. Obviously, another time together. Let me just, as always, verify that like everything is working. And it's not working. Okay. Well, good thing. What's going on? Right. Okay, so it's a mix of... Okay. My audio interface and my PC lagging. Let me just check one last thing. Okay. So, as always, we are gonna do some React. What is called? I have a problem with content addiction, and you are witnessing it. All right, so we're gonna watch some YouTube. I'm gonna do some React, and yeah. Let's get into let's just get let's just begin, shall we? All right. So, mm, 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 mm. I just need to check if my sound fucking works on the video. Okay, so we can start. Let's check this out. Killzone. Have you heard of Killzone? Killzone was actually like the type of game that actually I never got to play because I was a little too young and it was a little too scary for me. I gotta admit. So Killzone, I never heard about it. So I just know that like it's a good FPS and that's pretty much it. Okay. Let me just...
I really
Okay. So, right. So, Killzone, new, it's not a trailer, it's an epic trailer, okay? Killzone, heard of the game. I actually just saw the jacket when I was young, and basically, well, it was too scary for me. It was too scary for me, and so I never played it. So, this time, it will be too scary for me. I have probably not, but we'll see. Let's check this out.
They came from the shadows, a storm of fire and steel, relentless, unforgiving, merciless. The Helghast, once exiled, now have returned. Our world, our home, is now threatened by a force that knows no limits.
We get multiple Helghast vessels approaching.
We fight for the lives of our people, for the future of a world teetering on the edge of annihilation. Every street, every ruin, every battle matters.
Well, hear our voice! On this day, we shall act as one!
And the fight begins now.
Let's get ready to rock and roll.
Defenders of the Helghast dream, now is our time! Need support!
This is the kill zone.
Okay, so this trailer captures. Okay, so oh, so this is wow. So this is actually fan made. This is actually fan-made. Welcome back to one of the greatest PlayStation FPS sagas. This trailer captured the brutality, atmosphere, and intensity of the original Killzone from 2004. Since the developer back in the day didn't have much experience to make trailers, I stepped up and remade this one, which is fueled by powerful cover. We will rock you by the Triple Killers. Wow, this is absolutely unbelievable. It's actually not a trailer. I got scammed. But it's a good trailer. Nonetheless, wow. Give a sub to Epic Replay. What a gem I just found by accident. So this is not the official trailer. This is a trailer for you to rediscover a game that is a retro game. So yeah, shout out to Epic Replay. What a fucking damn. This is really beautiful. This is beautiful. All right, and when it comes to Killzone, well, I guess it's not, since it's not a new game, well, still scares me. So I won't play. No, it's too outdated for me. So yeah, but like, give it a try, give it a shot. Like back in the day, it was something. So it was really a game that like everyone heard about, you know. So yeah. Okay. Neo Inferno launch trailer, PS5 and PS4 games. Okay, let's check this out. Okay, so this is a retro gaming, like this is a retro gamer dream. The pixelated, the art style is absolutely fantastic. Like, I'll be honest with you, this is not my type of game at all. Like, this is not my type of game at all. But like, this is also like the type of short game where like you can just like take a couple days and just enjoy some new vibes, some new gameplay, just to experience it. But like, yeah, enough dislikes and hateful comments on this video, and I will actually go do a full playthrough of Neo Inferno if there is enough dislikes and hateful comments on this video. All right. Yeah, so you can play multiplayer, so this is really cool. You can upgrade, like this they captured the vibe so well. Look at just like how it moves, how it's like this retro vibe that everyone likes. Like, this is absolutely like, and you get to choose your next mission, and it's actually like make it so wow, they did so many effort to make it like look good. Like, just to choose your next missions, you go through through storytelling, and wow, and you can play as co-op. Like, look at how fun it can be as co-op. Like, this is so fucking cool. Like, this is really, really, really fucking cool. Like this is absolutely like really, really, really cool. So yeah, so if you're out for a trail, like, unless enough dislikes and hateful comments on under my video, that will be a pass for me. But like, if you're into retro gaming, damn, that's something that will probably make you happy. So yeah, Neon Inferno. God damn, that's an interesting game. Okay. Talking about interesting game, I've seen a game, absolutely never saw a game like this before. So let's check this out. War Rats official version release date teaser trailer. I've seen like a couple like glimpse images of it. I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Like, check this out. Wow, this is okay. Remember JavaScript? Remember the free game that we had on the fucking like the fucking sites? Oh my fucking god! Let me just. Oh my fucking god! What the fuck? Like, remember JavaScript and all the fucking like games that like were loading on your browser? Like, it has the same fucking vibe. They captured the same fucking vibe of this browser video game era. It's amazing. And I must say, well, I don't like the style in general, like the rat that plays the guitar, that just like keeps convincing you play the game. Where is the rat that plays the guitar? Like, check this out. This is so artistic. Like with the rat that just like that just like keeps on playing in the background. Like, and keep showing off is rat skill to fucking like this is so fucking cool. This is actually so fucking cool. Like, here, like, check this out. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about what we think about this rat rock. Like, he just doesn't care. Look at these eyes. Look at these eyes. These eyes. These eyes are the eyes of a rat that knows he does rock. Knows he rocks as well, and knows he doesn't care about what you think. You know, like, this is a rat that I like. But yeah, other than that, yeah, the game, so it's a mix in between like shooter and actually tower defense and wave sending, right? So this is actually like interesting, like as an indie game dev. Look at, he doesn't care at all. He doesn't care about the game. He's just there. Yeah, some developers just like search for a rat for a gig, and it's just there, and just he doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, look at him, like, it's just look at you, and it's like, I'm not here for that. I'm too cool for this. It's just a side gig, you know? Like, but yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful like game that really like it's a really beautiful game that like really captures Java's like only not Java, sorry, like, but like all the all the game that we had in the early during the internet infancy on the browser gaming. Everyone forgot this, man, didn't forgot. And this fucking rat is just here there for gig. It's not here for you, it's not here for me. Like, by now he's already like like doing a fucking gig somewhere else, you know? Like, it doesn't fucking care about us. Like, but yeah. Really cool game. Like, wishlist it on Steam if you want to support Rat them up. It's War Rats, it's called. If if you want to support the indie creator, so yeah, War Rats, not for me, maybe for you, maybe for like a nostalgia ride, right? Right. The second thing. Okay. For sure I already did, but like just in case. Yeah, okay. Okay. Let's check this out. Sword of Legends. Official reveal trailer. Let's check this out.
Millions of souls pour into the underworld every day. You're no different. Millions of souls pour into the underworld every day. You're no different. My lord, he's here.
I bid you walk the mortal world once more. Fallen leaves return to their roots. You shall gather the souls that stray.
I've watched over this city for ages, and every name in your scroll of death. Not one of them dies quietly. You, a soulless husk. You can judge my fate. Why wrestle rogues when their artifacts can do what brute strength cannot?
What? Soulless husk?
The living cast their dead to flame, and sacrifice ignites the war banners!
Here we go again.
If you know not life, how can you know death?
Okay, just one thing. If you know not life, how can you know dead? No, I'm just telling you. This is right, you know. If you know not life, how can you know that? Huh? How can you? All right, let's go back to, wow, this is actually quite a spectacle. So Japanese mythology, wow, this is actually really interesting. It seems to actually, so this looks like a, now that like I am back at, this is actually Japanese, right? This actually looks like a kappa, right? And there is like many, like, I am quite curious to know if it follows the tales of what is called goddamn, it's always like this, and then it's like, oh my fucking god, it's like I'd still date. Yeah, no, like it's yeah, so I hope it follows like Japanese folklore, like folkloric stories, but as much as I can see, like yeah, as much as I can see, like, this is really really cool. There is like a moment where like you can see how the fight, you can just like make your own like here, like look at the type of like battle like fights that you can take and the ways you can fight. This is really interesting. Like, this is a game that actually I am interested in. I am actually interested in, like, because like this is, I don't know, like, it is dark but it is folkloric, and I don't know, like, I am already weak for Asia, so obviously, but like, yeah. No, it's a Chinese myth. Chinese myth. Okay, so I thought it was before, because Kappa. Chinese, you know what? Even better, because Chinese folklore do not get enough recognition. We do not know about China. We know about Genshin. We know about Tencent. We know about, like, what was it called? Honkai, right? But we don't get like all these games that like actually talk about like the folklore, and I am actually quite curious to discover that, because like this is, wow, like, wow, this is so interesting. Like, this is actually fantastic. This is when it comes to like video game and video game culture and spreading of like just like respect of each other's culture. This is what I call progress, because this type of game is the type of game that actually like promotes like a country that is really old. China is really fucking old, and it allows us to discover the folklore and to also like promote the beauty of the same folklore through the media of video games. So I am really happy about it. So yeah. All right. All right. Next on we have Fate Keeper. Let me just check again. I need to check every 20 minutes if okay. Fate Keeper official gameplay reveal trailer. It is a long, lengthy one, but let's check this out.
By black granite and bone, we have endured yet another ambush. This road is as perilous as it is joyless.
Okay, maybe it's just me, but isn't that the fucking cutest companion? It's the 30th rat I've ever seen in my life. But the way he talks and the way he presents himself, isn't he the cutest? What the fuck? Like, let's check this out again.
and bone, we have endured yet another ambush. This road is as perilous as it is joyless.
The greatest peril, to my senses, is your stench and the sorry shape that bears it.
Let's see how choosy you'll be when the void invites you in.
Spirits preserve me. Just get back in the knapsack.
Fine, fine. But remember, we must reach the moon gate and find some clue as to how it may be opened.
I
Damn.
find survivors.
Damn. Okay, so the game is absolutely astonishingly beautiful. Okay, the details on the sword. That's really cool. The details on the sword like starts to bleed out. And you can see he's level 2.
Let him go for now, youngling. Let's see what this place holds.
Youngling, do you know my age, rodent?
Your years mean little. This is your first vigil. Thus, you are a neophyte, whether you enjoy the title or not.
I like the fact that like both the rat, which is adorable for some reason. I fell in love with this rat. This rat is absolutely adorable. But the main character is not charismatic at all. And this is actually something really risky, but really, really well done. Because like a character, like you see that like he's charismatic. Everyone is charismatic in his own way. All right. Like there is no like everyone is beautiful in his own way. All right. But he doesn't have like this punch. He doesn't have like this like this beauty. He is who he is, and I think that like the art direction so far is absolutely unbelievable. Okay, let's check out. So armor, spells. You have spells, skill tree. You have a skill tree. Okay, this is interesting. And this is what you look like. Right, what did it put? Oh, okay, so it's okay, it's in inventory. Okay. Wow. Damn. A parry. Whoa, that's brutal. That's a bunch of skulls. Skeletons. And that's the rat that just spoke. It's so cool. Oh my god.
This is not war. This is a cleanse. The purge. We haven't much time.
Okay, so this is absolutely, so first off, the sidekick, the rat, it's absolutely, I'll let you know that I never liked Oblivion. I never liked this type of gameplay, but this game might be the one that actually makes me wanna try this out. Skyrim, etc., etc. I was never into that. It was already outdated for me. But when I see this and I see like this story that is like, it makes me think, it makes me feel something, you know, like it makes me feel something. It's dark, it's grim, it's really realistic. Like at this point, like compared to Skyrim or Elder Scrolls, like you can almost say that like this game is realistic. when it comes to like actually like dark fantasy, and this is actually really interesting. Like the fact that your weapon get blotted out, the fact that like you don't the fact that the interface is so minimalistic, like it is really cool. But if there is something that really that I absolutely love, it's this rat. What the fuck, they really managed to create two characters, and you can see that like they already have like some sort of like connection that is like, I don't know, grim and dark and really like the really interesting. So yeah, really cool. This is really cool. This is really cool. If you like me never were into like Skyrim, Elder Scroll, and all this first person like type of medieval fantasy, like maybe this is for you too, like some like the game that might change your mind about like this type of gameplay and this type of storytelling, etc. Like this is really interesting. Fatekeeper. Wishlist this. It supports the creators on Steam. So yeah. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's get back to some more. Okay, Crunchyroll, Gnosia, what is it? What is it? No clue. Let's check this out.
わかった。青函高校戦 DQO 一つ問題が起きてるんだ。その問題が解決しない限りこのままじゃ到着はできない。永遠にね。時間です。会議を始めてください。これから会う3人のうち1人は人間じゃない。グノーシアになった者は人を襲い消滅させるの。そのグノーシアがこの中にいる。会議で1人を選んでコールドスリープし、グノーシアを凍らせられればハッピーエンド。間違えればバッドエンド。
Among Us?
わかった。戻ってる。ニコ犬。だからわかるんだ。グノーシアは。ユーリ様。
Among Us?
誰だ。たとえ同じ時間を繰り返したとしても。結果も変わっているということさ。グノーシアを排除しなくちゃ。このループからは脱出できないんだ。始めようか。私たちが生き残るための話し合いを。どこかにいる私たちを狂わせる何かが。疑うな、恐れるな、そして知れ。狂乱の宴、ここに始まれり。この僕を疑っているんだ。信じろ。信じろ。信じない方がいいよ。誰のこと。
I'm a sus.
何も知らないのですね。また会えるといいね。次は審判の時間です。フォーストグノーシ
No. Aniplex fucking did the fucking Among Us anime. Are you fucking joking? I will not. I will not comment much. Look, there is an anime about being reincarnated as a fucking vending machine. All right, so it's not. It is not even that far fetched. All right. Well, like, goddamn, like they fucking like went in and they were like, what? And they were like, let's fucking do Among Us. Who will stop us? Fucking no one. Just so you know, my Japanese, my Japanese, like, no one will fucking stop you from doing isekais about vending machines and like and stuff like that. All right, like, just so you know. But like, god fucking damn it, like what the fuck, like. Among Us, Gnosia, Among Us, Gnosia. Sus? Am I sus? Are you sus? Are we sus? Is sus something really? At the end of the day? Aren't we all sus in our own way? Alright, that's enough. Okay. This is interesting. Witch at Atelier. I actually like heard a lot about Witch at Atelier. There was a trailer and then complete silence. Like the studio actually, like, people were actually like not sure if it will be released, and actually we got a second trailer, which at Atelier, if it is one of a kind of story, so I won't say much more.
君はこれから魔法使いになるんだ。
魔法は世界にあふれていて、なくてはならない便利な奇跡。魔法をかけられるのは魔法使いだけ。ただの人間は魔法を恵んでもらうことしかできない。
魔法使いのキーフリーと申します。
魔法っていうのは不思議でキラキラで尊いんです。
本当に魔法が好きなんだね。
大きくなったら世界を彩る魔法使いになる。魔法をペンで書いてる。魔法はかけるんじゃなくて書くんだ。
何を書いた？何の魔法を書いた？
ごめんなさい、私何も知らなくて。
知ってしまった事実は消せない。ならば秘密を持つ側になってもらう。とんがり帽子は君の魔法を見ている。
Okay, so I will not actually I will just leave you with that. I say no more about Witch at the Atelier. Must watch. You need to give it at least a try. 2024, 2026. So yeah, I will not say anything else. Just give it a try. Okay. One interesting one. Remember,
this video will cover PlayStation.
This is actually really interesting. So we'll keep.
Remember.
Okay. Okay. So this is actually really interesting. On one video, I am passionate about like game design and like the different like periods of like gaming and stuff. Like I love this type of like historical. Okay. Okay. So, back in the day, there was an era where actually well, video game technology and all this technology was actually like quite you need to understand like sci-fi actually quite has been invented during our lifetime. All right. And because of that, there was a period during which ads and promotion and actually explanation of this technology that was in developing and promoted and sold, that was really on the edge, really I'd say really uncanny. All right. And this talks about this, so I am quite excited to hear what he has to say about it.
This video will cover PlayStation's unhinged era of marketing from 1995 to 2011. We'll look at a handful of advertisements and what they did for the PlayStation brand, and even talk about their inspirations. I'll answer questions like, why were PlayStation ads so bizarre? Who were the creatives behind these? And how did one ad save the PlayStation brand? Video game advertisements in the early 90s were filled with frantic footage of characters, but Sony wanted to change that. From Nintendo advertisements featuring the likes of Mario to Sega and Sonic, one thing was certain: their target demographic was kids. In an attempt to corner kids and families, the mainstays of the console industry turned a blind eye to entire untapped markets: young adults. And Sony realized this early in the development of the PlayStation 1. Originally a joint venture with Nintendo, Sony created a CD-ROM attachment for the SNES, allowing the console to accept both SNES cartridges and CDs. This new entertainment system was dubbed the PlayStation with a space. However, less than 24 hours after Sony announced the collaboration, Nintendo would go back on its contract. Nintendo went behind Sony's back and asked Philips instead, one of Sony's key rivals, to develop CD technology under the condition that Nintendo would have total control over their licenses on all Philips-produced machines, standing in stark contrast to Sony's original claims: a majority share of CD-ROM profits and publishing rights to all CD content. This led to the green light for the development of the PlayStation 1 as a standalone console. It initially faced resistance from Sony's CEO, Norio Oga, when Ken Kutaragi, the father of the PlayStation, first pitched the idea a couple of years prior. Another key part of Sony's strategy came in their approach to games.
We knew that in order to be successful, we had to capture the hearts and minds of the developers and the publishers equally.
This especially rang true with their call to arms in Japan, where they rounded up nearly 250 developers and publishers to appear on the new console. It paid off, and in turn, the December 3rd, 1994 release broke new ground for the company. In less than
let me just verify one.
3 months, the PlayStation sold more than 1 million units in Japan, becoming an instant hit. With home turf in good hands, Sony set their sights on the West. Sony had to make a splash with the PlayStation, and what they pulled forever ingrained itself into the minds of gamers. The marketing strategy for the PS1 was clearly defined from the beginning, and their goal was to appeal to an older, more sophisticated audience. This came about thanks to the PlayStation marketing team. They realized that everyone wanted to be 19. If you're 12, you want to be 19, and if you're 25, you want to be 19 again. As a result, 19 was the target communication tone of voice for marketing strategy as a whole, only made more apparent.
This is actually really really good conclusion when it comes to marketing. Wow, this is interesting when it comes to marketing.
By Sony's choice to purposely withhold prominent Sony branding from the PlayStation rollout to create a clear separation from the mature Sony brand and their new younger PlayStation. The initial "You are not Red E" tagline was created for this sole reason, and this Red E motif continued with Enos. Enos or Enos Lives were found across PlayStation advertisements and media, a play on the pronunciation of Sony but in reverse. However, there were added layers to this phrase. The red letter E, understood as ready, of Enos was ultimately deciphered as Ready 9th of September, a reference to the PlayStation's unique US release date of September 9th, 1995. Also included in the marketing rollout using a simple 99.95 to stir excitement. All of these initiatives were a byproduct of PlayStation recognizing gamers wanted to work harder at deciphering messages. Or more simply, not all gamers were children or wanted to be treated like children. Nothing captures this philosophy better than the Double Life ad for the PlayStation 1. Released in 1999, 5 years after the initial release of the PlayStation, the advertisement sought to position PlayStation as more than just a gaming console, but as a gateway to new experiences and identities. The advertising agency behind this campaign was TBWA. With offices across the globe, they paved the way for the PlayStation's distinct style, and their history would only grow with PlayStation under their belt. The Double Life ad took a harsh departure from traditional video game advertisements, exchanging the hectic, colorful, and gameplay-centric adverts for something with more depth.
For years I've lived a double life. In the day I do my job, I ride the bus, roll up my sleeves with the hoi polloi. But at night, I live a life of exhilaration.
Of missed heartbeats and adrenaline.
And if the truth...
For years, I have lived a double life, echoed in the minds of viewers, featuring a cast of 19 different actors representing all who dare to play, an achievement in diversity even for today's standards, all of whom contribute to the unforgettable monologue detailing the memories they've made thanks to video games, created by James Sinclair, Ed Morris, Trevor Beatty, and directed by the late Frank Budgeon. The four...
This is actually interesting. I actually want to check this out. Not now, but like as a okay, this is interesting, and I'll check this out like sometimes later, because like from a marketing and artistic perspective, this is actually like, you know, like we like to say that like we as gamers, we don't like to fucking being taken for idiots, and actually they didn't, and they actually did something really special, like seeing the project, seeing kind of like it's ads, but still it's interesting. I really want to check this out later.
Along with the rest of their team, went on to change gaming advertising forever. Double Life was released to widespread critical acclaim and became the most awarded ad campaign of 1999 and 2000. It marked a paradigm shift in the way gaming advertises itself, shedding the notion that gaming was reserved for boys, when in reality it was for everyone to enjoy and experience. TBWA continued its masterclass in marketing with the release of the Mental Wealth ad in the same year. Unlike Double Life, which showcased a diverse cast, this ad featured just one actress, a Scottish girl with an enlarged cranium monologuing about mental wealth. Directed by Chris Cunningham, known for his work with Aphex Twin, the ad became a cultural sensation. Though actress Fiona McLean was horrified at the digital alteration of her face, the unsettling result made waves and even graced the cover of Dazed in November 1999. This marked PlayStation's success in positioning itself not just as a console, but as a lifestyle brand. Double Life and Mental Wealth are important in understanding how PlayStation's marketing became so bizarre. All this playful marketing succeeded in attracting a more adult audience and set the tone for future PlayStation marketing. Subversive, witty, and at times dark. Without Double Life, PlayStation wouldn't have the necessary brand positioning to venture into more unconventional strategies.
There's one thing that like people tend to forget, and we tend to forget as well as gamers, is that like I said earlier, even back in the day and nowadays as well, being taken for an idiot for liking video games and electronic arts in general is something that people fucking hate, right? But another thing is that people tend to forget that like the video games that we play are actually really dark, really touch subjects that are absolutely like complex, constructed, deep, and philosophical, intellectual, and actually political as well, and moral. And I think that like this is something that like is nowadays people kind of like accepted the fact that like we're just like enjoy storytelling, right? But back in the day, like but people back in the day know this as well. People tend to forget that like the media of video gaming is actually really serious and really interactive, but also really teaching and enriching when it comes to culture, when it comes to intellect, when it comes to perspective. And I think that like this is something that people tend to forget about video games, because we see it nowadays with the idea of Fortnite being the poster child with Among Us and Mario. We see video games as this type of media that is really subject to be quite lighthearted, and while it is not the case at all. It talks about war. It talks about like a lot of like, think about like how many games are not let's not even talk about like the fact that it's like combat or shooting games, but that the canvas is based on conflict, right? And so people tend to forget that, because the poster childs and me as well actually tend to forget how dark and how well, delicate, but also beautiful, but also well arranged the games we play nowadays are. Because think about the games that are seen as the masterpiece, as seen as the miracles of electronic arts these days. You will think Elden Ring, you will think God of War, you will think The Last of Us, you will think I think personal perspective. God of War, The Last of Us, Elden Ring. To me personally, World of Warcraft, StarCraft as well. And think about the fact, just take the time to readjust and remember the subjects of and the philosophies and the messages of these games. These are not children's games. These are adapted to all public, to any public. But these are work of arts that are treating and subjects and asking questions that are so complex, so dark, and so sometimes even obscure, that I just thought that it was important to, even for myself, to remind myself that that the games that I play and I enjoy are actually much more than I allow myself to think. All right. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just wanted to just I just wanted to notify, to remark that after seeing what he said, after listening to what he said, it's true that even I forgot all I got used to enjoying these dark fantasies and these dark stories, these dark subjects. Maybe it will remind you too. Anyway.
Without mental wealth, PlayStation wouldn't have the proper cultural capital to veer into the surreal. And that is exactly where Sony took PlayStation with the release of the PS2. The PlayStation 2 was the best-selling console of all time, and part of that success was thanks to its groundbreaking marketing. Sony was riding high on the release and success of the original PlayStation. It brought 3D gaming to the masses and forever changed the perception of gaming. They were looking to do it all over again, and who better to hire than the same people who pulled it off the first time, TBWA. The overarching theme for the marketing push was this concept of the third place, a place beyond home or work, and in the case of the PS2, a place entirely up to your imagination. The whole point and the response we want to get from the ad, said Darren Carter, the marketing director of SCE Europe, is that it's an excited fear, a new unknown, but during it, you think you're going to like it. This was especially telling when TBWA hired the creative mastermind behind the surreal Twin Peaks, David Lynch. As a result, one of the most iconic PS2 ads was born, Welcome to the Third Place. He brought the eclectic and eerie visuals he was known for to the world of PlayStation, from doppelgangers, industrial soundscapes, and even head injuries. Just to wrap things up with a duck-headed man saying, "Welcome to the third place," who was actually voiced by Lynch himself. There were several other commercials under the third place campaign, most of which were wrongly attributed to David Lynch. In this article by Simon XIX, they examined which ads were long thought to be directed by Lynch himself, namely Bambi, Dog, Overboard, Jimmy Dynamite, The Wolfman, and Blind. While all of these commercials push boundaries in the field of video game marketing, nothing would cause a stir like their print counterparts. PlayStation's recognizable marketing continued with its print and magazine push. Unlike their video counterparts, these adverts had one opportunity to steal your gaze, and they were exceptional at it. From human veins in the shapes of PlayStation buttons to human eyes with veins in the shapes, or for those interested in the suggestive, the woman who was taking her shirt off, condoms in a triangle, square, circle, and X variant, and this one. The folks at TBWA knew how to get our attention and make us remember. But PlayStation's history of eccentric and controversial print ads can be traced back to this one quote: "It's more powerful than God." A 1995 postcard passed around the Glastonbury Festival, and if you take a close look, it actually had perforations, each segment serving as a cardboard filter for smoking. And looking back, such a quote seems somewhat tame compared to what they put out next. Advert for smoking.
Wait, what?
5 postcard passed around the Glastonbury Festival, more powerful than God. A 1995 postcard passed around the Glastonbury Festival, and if you take a close look, it actually had perforations, each segment serving as a cardboard filter for smoking.
Yes, okay. No, I wasn't sure, but yeah. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't.
And looking back, such a quote seems somewhat tame compared to what they put out next. Adverts filled with far more adult and frankly controversial content. Sony's decision to position PlayStation in this fashion is best explained by this quote: "By utilizing the punk, industrial, and dystopian arrangements set forth by various underground club movements in films like Fight Club and Blade, Sony's PlayStation captured a sense of fear and unease in their print adverts. These images targeted an older audience. They let gamers know that no matter your age, gaming could now be part of everyone's everyday life, as it collides with even the most underground street movements." But this was nothing new for PlayStation. During the release of the PlayStation 1, Sony contacted clubs across the UK and proposed setting up rooms with PlayStations for people to play with guides even made detailing the strange phenomenon. PS2's print adverts further positioned itself as the mature option for would-be gamers, crossing into adult territory most gaming companies had yet to touch. It's interesting to view the marketing push for the PS2 through the lens of transformative 90s films and design movements from the era. The simple fact that PlayStation was willing to take inspiration from films centered around underground fight rings, a heroin addict, and the nature of free will illustrates that Sony is willing to view gaming as a dynamic and adult medium. Clear references to these films are found in some of PS2 prints. This one in particular showcases a Morpheus lookalike holding a blue pill in one hand and 4 shapely red pills in the other. But the inspiration for PS2 marketing extends beyond film references, but uses entire design movements as its muse. Going back to the RAM CPU article, they identified movements like late 90s club culture, corporate grunge, and Gen X soft club as key reference points for the PS2's visual identity. And at a glance, the visuals are uncanny, from muted greenish hues reminiscent of the Matrix to distorted corporate aesthetics. PS2's visual language was rooted in counterculture.
And this is absolutely masterful when it comes to marketing, but it's also a risk because do you know what it is to actually like wear and actually be the owner of this type of aesthetics? Well, it actually takes a responsibility. Like, it is something that you cannot just walk around and have an aesthetic that is like of an outsider without actually carrying it. And it is a responsibility, and it is also like torment that you will have to live with. So yes, it did took such a risk, but at the same time, they actually took the time to actually like rethink about what they are actually selling and to who they are actually selling, and they do not like. And back then, it was people need like. You need to remember, you need to remember that like back then it was like there wasn't like a before. You get me? There wasn't like a before. There wasn't a fucking like, yeah, no, the PlayStation 5 or like the Xbox Series X, or like, there wasn't a before. there wasn't. Like the before was fucking, was cartoonish arcade games, okay, and some computers back then. So yeah, it was completely different.
TBWA was again tasked with tackling the marketing around the new PlayStation 3, but this time, they went too far, especially considering the situation the PS3 found itself in. Numerous delays, the most expensive in its category, and its release lagging an entire year compared to its rival, the X.
I think also the it wasn't this misunderstood and unknown technology as it was at this point.
Xbox 360. Suffice to say, the console was not in good standing. In response, Play Beyond was the campaign they came up with, aimed to showcase the unparalleled power and potential of the PS3. A commercial break interrupted Game 4 of the 2006 World Series. 16 million viewers were greeted with an unsettling baby doll, opposite a floating PS3. There were other versions as well, one with a Rubik's Cube and one with eggs and crows. For many, this was the first time they'd see the PS3 rollout. Some looked back on these adverts fondly, likening them to eccentric PlayStation ads of the past. The imagery from these was also translated into print form and used for further explanations regarding the PS3's hardware. Moving on, Sony decided to pull back on their more artistic ads in favor of being more gaming oriented. As a result, Universe of Entertainment was their next line of ads, continuing the Play Beyond tagline while highlighting the PS3's gaming and Blu-ray capabilities. But what came next was something nobody expected. An ad for MLB09 The Show unveiled a fictional game director by the name of...
Well, Dustin, PlayStation gamers demand the most realistic baseball game ever, so we're just going to keep it as is. It's called Integrity.
Kevin Butler, played by Jerry Lambert. The MLB ad was so well received that it resulted in the famous Dear PlayStation series of adverts, featuring Kevin Butler in different settings, answering different questions PlayStation users may have.
I got a tip that you were making the PS3 $2.99. Confirm or deny?
$2.99? Bernie, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. That's how World War I got started.
What?
PlayStation's new spokesperson coincided with the $100 price drop of the original PS3 to $299, and the release of a smaller, sleeker PS3 Slim at the same price. The combination of the witty Kevin Butler and the cheaper entry price made the PS3 far more palatable to the average consumer. This drastic shift in tone was accompanied by a change in tagline from Play Beyond to It Only Does Everything, a clear departure from emphasizing the PS3's potential to what it can actually do, something many consumers were still completely unaware of. But this newfound success was not created by TBWA. Due to the mixed reception of the PS3's launch marketing, Sony switched to rival agency Deutsch LA. Not only did they bring back PlayStation into the limelight, but they also...
Deutsch. That's good. He's good.
helped the brand when it needed it most. To good fortune, the PlayStation will be turned on its head on April 17th, 2011. Over the course of 2 days, unknown hackers breached Sony's network, compromising the information of more than 77 million users. Sony was forced to deactivate its PlayStation network, resulting in an outage lasting for 24 days, the longest in the service's lifespan. Things were only made worse due to Sony's week-long gap between first identifying the breach and notifying users of their compromised details. The hack went down as one of the largest breaches of credit card information and cost the company a staggering $171 million. Apologies followed shortly after, both in a dedicated press conference and at E3.
Which brings me to the audience that I'm most interested in addressing, and those are our consumers. You are the lifeblood of the company. Without you, there is no PlayStation. And I want to apologize both personally and on behalf of the company for any anxiety that we've caused you.
In light of this disaster, Sony continued their partnership with Deutsch LA and released Michael, an ad featuring some of PlayStation's most iconic characters, all in praise of the true hero who gives meaning to their existence, the player.
Michael! When the Templars murdered my family, when the whole bloody world's gone crazy. Hellcat, Sector 9! To Michael! For all he does. For all of us. To Michael!
The Michael in the advertisement is a tribute to a real PlayStation fan.
Okay, I'm a mega simp. I've seen like a girl from Final Fantasy.
The player.
Michael! When The Templars murdered my family when the whole bloody world's gone crazy. Hellcat, Sector 9, to Michael!
What the fuck is this? Okay.
For all he does. For all of us. To Michael.
The Michael in the advertisement is a tribute to a real PlayStation fan. His name was Michael J. Mamaril, a 22-year-old who sadly passed away from cancer. The very same Michael found in Borderlands 2, for he was also a huge fan. The heartfelt nature of the ad won over the internet and helped recover PlayStation's brand image, with some even calling it the best video game commercial of all time. Long Live Play was the accompanying tagline and can be considered the last great marketing push for the PlayStation 3. Looking back at PlayStation's catalog of commercials reminds us of the importance of marketing and branding, especially in an emerging industry like gaming. From being a newcomer in the industry to being the first to sell 100 million units, the PlayStation 1 served as a case study for targeting an untapped audience. The PlayStation 2 took lessons from the PS1 and put them in high gear, leaning further into the surreal, serious, and spontaneous. However, as companies change, so do their strategies. The PlayStation 3 saw the brand shift away from its more artistic marketing rollouts, most likely a product of playing catch-up in its need to regain market share. Sony had to shift from glamorizing the lifestyle of a gamer to acknowledging the needs and wants of the gamer. The evolution of PlayStation's marketing serves as a reminder that knowing one's audience is a key to success, which only makes me wonder, how will Sony sell us on the PlayStation 6?
Sourdough. Wow. This is absolutely unbelievable. Thank you so much for this video. This is a piece of history that is so well described, so well researched, and so carefully put together. I really appreciated that. This was fascinating. Wow, this was so many things that I learned, so many things that I already knew, but that were kind of, you know, like, you get me, right? And wow, leave a follow Sordo, offer him leave a like, and what is it called, and subscribe to his channel. It's unbelievable what he does. What the fuck did I just watch? What the fuck?
POD would.
Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Actually, give me. Yeah, no. I'll just. Yeah. Let's keep going. Apparently, like, let's check this out. This fishing game soundtrack did not have to go this hard. Okay, let's check this out because, like, this fascinates me.
Song, and tell me what kind of game you picture.
Okay, combat game.
Nostalgic, definitely giving sort of a late 90s vibe. Maybe a fighting game or an intense first-person shooter, something like that. Well,
yeah,
as
absolutely.
You can see from the title of this video, this song is from the one and only Sega Bass fishing game, which was released in 1997 originally and was later ported to a number of home consoles over the years. Known in Japan as Get Bass, this game served as a realistic fishing simulator and was pretty well liked upon its initial release. I'm not personally too keen on playing a fishing game. The only experience I really have is playing Big's levels in Sonic Adventure, which I absolutely hated. So I was drawn a lot more to this game because of its soundtrack, not the gameplay. I came across this track, which is called Diary, randomly on YouTube one day as I was watching someone's video. It was the background music, and I thought, that's a pretty cool tune, nice background music. And when I figured out its origin, I thought, why does this fishing game have such a cool track? Is there any other cool tracks on the OST? So I delved a little bit further, and it turns out there's a pretty big following of this OST and people who really like it and kind of meme on it for going so hard. Interestingly though, this OST seems to have two different ends of the spectrum when it comes to musical influence. One side is sort of like a more hard rock, and the other side is more ambient and low-key. I much prefer the more chill songs as opposed to the overzealous ones, but it is funny that the game includes both. I love how incredibly hardcore some of the music is for a game that's supposed to emulate a pretty serene activity. Let's go through and check out some of the tracks on this OST that solidify it as being unexpectedly great.
Damn, that's a vibe. That's a vibe. This has this retro vibe of like, we don't care, we're just having fun, and we do not know what existential dread is. What does it mean, existential dread, nihilism? What are these words? Like, this is such like a bubble from an era where like the word nihilism and existential dread did not exist. These people, all of these people, they were like, I don't care. I'm having fun right now. All right? Dystopia? Well, what the fuck is a dystopia? All right? I'm fishing bass. All right? I'm fishing bass. What the? What are you talking about? About to just listen to the beat and fucking like it and just vibe with it, all right? And stop being so dark. You scare everyone. No, for real, like this. Bro, what the fuck? Like, it's all about fishing. Just remember, it's all about fishing. You buy the game, it's about fishing. You buy the game, put it in your console, you start fishing. Like, do you understand all fucking, like, I feel completely dislocated, like, intellectually, because I'm like, it fucking makes me, like, the fuck is going on?
For this soundtrack's creation, we have Sachio Ogawa to thank. He's a former sound designer and music composer, known for working on titles such as Shenmue 2, the Virtua Fighter series.
You know what? I was thinking about like some Japanese game. I should have said it. I should have said it. You'll never believe that. Like, I believed, like, it made me think about like games like arcade games. Like Shenmue is the prime example. Like with like some games where like you just kind of like walk around the city and play play like mini games. Like,
and many other Sega titles. There are a lot of memes that go around about the soundtrack and how it just goes unexpectedly hard and it catches you off guard the first time you play it. Once I found it, I knew I had to at least, you know, make a small video about it, showcase some of it. As much as I'd like to live react to some of these tracks, I just didn't have as much time today, but I did want to, you know, showcase it. And if you guys haven't heard it, it's definitely worth listening to the entire OST. I think it works for really great like study music and just general background music. Maybe
and fishing, like someone must go live and I don't do fishing, all right, but like there must be someone that we can convince on this this fucking on the internet to fucking like, you just tell him fucking call Mr. Beast, fucking like give him like the fucking playlist of this fucking like this fucking game and go fishing, and we just watch what the fuck happens to a living being listening to this type of music actually fishing. That will be funny.
not so much the harder tracks, but at least the more chill tracks.
Do you understand what she just said? The harder tracks? It's a fucking fishing game.
Are good for that. I have a lot of other ideas and videos I want to make right now, but I am, you know, in full swing with preparing for my busiest season as a caricature artist, so I'll probably be a little bit barren over here on this channel, but hope you guys tune in when I do upload. I'm looking to do just maybe some like single track reactions. I think that would be a little bit more bearable in terms.
Maybe she should be the one who goes fishing listening to these tracks. Why?
In terms of like filming it, because
you know what? I'll actually I don't leave often comments. Oh, fuck it.
I could just listen to one song and throw it out there. We'll see what comes of that. Let me know if you guys enjoyed the soundtrack and what you think about it, if you've ever heard of it, or if you already knew that it was a pretty banging soundtrack. That's gonna be all for today, so I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
This is actually really great. This is actually really great. This is actually really great. Thank you so much, Battle Apple. What an adorable name, Battle Apple. Thank you so much for this. If anyone wants to like for real film yourself fishing, listening to this fucking like track on live or on YouTube, like I'm sure you're gonna make some views. Like if you fucking struggle, like, all right. Okay, I'm gonna take a small break. I'll be right back. I'm back. Let me just check out if my sound. Okay. Next on. All right. Oh fuck. All right, I'm back. Let's continue. Let's continue this browsing. All right. Where were we? All right. So. Let's get back to some WoW, shall we? I'll just check out real quick. Why is there no sound? Okay. No. Okay. Okay, let's get back to some WoW, shall we? The unreleased secrets of Vanilla WoW, episode 2. I see that there's an episode 3. I didn't know. I'll just like keep it here real quick. Okay. No, I okay. All right. Let's do this one last time. The Unreleased Secrets of Vanilla WoW Episode 2 by the legend himself, Matt Season Show. Let's check this out. Let's check what we missed. So yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? Mad Season here, back with another video for you. So, under the pretense of maybe, possibly, Season of Discovery going into a Classic Plus direction, recently I did a video going over some of the secret cut content from Vanilla WoW that could be contenders. Some people think that the most classic that you could possibly get would be content that the original developers planned, and thanks to some helpful people in the comments, it turns out there's much more that I missed, so I wanted to do a follow-up video here. First, starting with Ulduar. Ulduar is a facility constructed by the Titans, which are the godlike creators of Azeroth, as a prison for one of the old gods, the king of BJs, Yogg-Saron. The Titans wanted to shape and order the world, sort of, and the old gods opposed them and sought to corrupt it, and eventually the Titans gained the upper hand and started imprisoning the old gods, and Ulduar was created to house Yogg-Saron. So eventually players would of course visit this in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, but believe it or not, it was planned to be in Vanilla World of Warcraft. In
No
fact, it was to be
way.
its own entire continent south of Kalimdor. What you're looking at is a
Wait, Undermine has been released during the War Within. Can you believe that? Undermine was a patch during the War Within.
concept map all the way back during the game's initial development in 1999. Also funny to note that Kalimdor itself was way smaller, a fraction of the size of the Eastern Kingdoms. So interesting that Cthulhu maybe wouldn't have been the only old god that players would encounter in vanilla. No one can agree on what Classic Plus is, but what I often see are new zones. In the last ones we talked about some unfinished ones here and there, such as Hyjal, Uldum, Kothalas, and these would eventually be fleshed out in later expansions, and as with Ulduar, but only as an enclosed raid, not a continent, so I think this could have some potential. Really, as far as they got was just this map. They never made the terrain for the zone or any modeling or anything, but it was planned. In the last video, we talked about the mostly abandoned Ashara zone. There's a cut MOBA battleground there, as well as an abandoned dungeon, and somehow I missed the biggest one, and that's the Timbermaw Gate. In the northwestern area of the zone, you'll find a bunch of furbolgs wandering about.
Give me just 1 second.
And tucked away in the corner is a very large and imposing gate that looks like it was meant to be something. There are a couple of theories as to what. First is another dungeon, Ashara, because the developers realized that a zone that's essentially a giant cliff is really annoying to navigate, was kind of abandoned, and the whole area is ripe for unfinished content, as mentioned earlier, so some theorize that this was intended to be a furbolg dungeon, or maybe possibly even a raid. The other theory, and this one is more interesting I think, is that this was thought to be the fourth entrance to the Timbermaw Hold, which you may know as the series of tunnels connecting Moonglade, Fellwood, and Winterspring together. Inside the tunnel, you can sort of find this out-of-place wall, possibly indicating a quick patch job once the idea was scrapped. And this is where it gets really interesting. Looking at the world map, if this tunnel was indeed connected to Ashara, which is pretty far, it would go right under one of the largest pieces of cut content in vanilla, the zone that we mentioned in the first episode, Mount Hyjal. Now Hyjal does have a blocked entrance at the end of that elite demon infested area in Winterspring, where people used to farm for the Eye of Shadow. But as some of you know, when it was finished in Cataclysm, it had those Barrow Den tunnels as part of some quests, so I wonder if maybe the original plan was to connect Ashara here, and halfway between it, it could connect to Mount Hyjal and maybe serve as an alternate entrance where if you took the time to grind out reputation with the Timbermaw, you could gain safe passage instead of going through this gauntlet of elite demons. If Classic Plus were to ever be a thing, and they were to implement Hyjal, I think this connecting area, as described, would be a really cool addition and sort of knock out two pieces of cut content at once. And next, we have the Dalaran Bubble in the Alterac map.
Oh yes, the Dalaran Bubble. When you went to Alterac and you were leveling, you just see a bubble and you cannot enter, and it was... You have to understand that, like, back then, video gaming, like World of Warcraft and other MMORPGs were really something else. Experienced like unlike any other, right? So you go to Alterac and you see this giant bubble and it says Dalaran and you cannot enter and you don't know what it is. And the feeling of not knowing what it is and just keep going with your adventure is actually something that, as a player, it's something that does not exist as much these days. But back in the day, it was such a source of wonder, you know, because like there were many examples like this, but Dalaran is really the prime example of this mysterious wonder of what's going on here? What is this place? Why? What? I don't understand. And what I find really beautiful in World of Warcraft is that they do not give you the answer, not before a long time. And it was before it was patched out because it wasn't planned to be released. It was not, but it was already there, right? So the reasons were not given, and the reason we're not given for many years. And I think that this is a part of World of Warcraft that is something that people tend to forget when they think about World of Warcraft nostalgia. This aspect of wonder, mystery that is not answered, and that has not been answered for the players that played the game since the beginning, that did not got answers for so long, you know?
Dalaran is known as the City of Mages. It was founded after the War of the Ancients during the early days of human civilization, and it became the center for all of the mages in Azeroth, sort of like the Citadel from Game of Thrones, with the Kirin Tor essentially being the maesters. They remained neutral throughout the various conflicts within the world until the Second War, where they rightfully and understandably aided the Alliance against Horde Filth, and during the Third War it was attacked directly by Arthas, who summoned Archimonde inside of it, leading to its destruction. Lore-wise in vanilla, it's being rebuilt, and of course it wouldn't be until Wrath of the Lich King that it would be converted into a floating city, and it would make its way to Northrend and serve as the main hub for that expansion, and then later the same for Legion. I think that the existing major cities of vanilla are a really big part of its identity, so I wouldn't say this being a hub would be the greatest idea. But if we're talking new raid content post Naxxramas, this could be a contender, I think. Like maybe Archimonde forgot his anime pillow or something, and he comes back for it, and it gets taken over by the Legion. We could have a demon raid, something that vanilla didn't have. Kind of a tangent here, but speaking of cut content and giant pink bubbles protecting cities, in the Warlords of Draenor expansion, you might remember that Shatrath City had the same giant bubble protecting it, and it was surrounded by an army of elite demons. This ended up being Draenor's missing raid, as evidenced by this early screenshot. So, Draenor today has the reputation of being one of the weaker expansions for a while, for many reasons. One of them being the fact that there were just 3 raids. Blizzard sort of half-jokingly stated for many years that in order to implement player housing, they would have to sacrifice a raid tier, so Some think that the garrisons in Draenor was the reason for this.
I actually didn't like that much because, like, now that we have more information about player housings, they did have to sacrifice a lot of resources to create, to offer us player housing.
And in fact, if you go to the graveyard in the garrison, you'll find a marker labeled Ray D tier. Yeah, like I said, kind of a tangent, but kind of funny that there are 2 instances of unfinished content involving cities sheltered by pink bubbles. And speaking of cities, next we have one of the most legendary unfinished areas of vanilla. I can't believe I didn't mention this in the last one, but that's Old Ironforge.
Yes, the old Ironforge. The old Ironforge that you could only visit by doing a duel with a mage that cheaps you, and you go through the wall, and then you go down, and there is lava, and there's a throne. It's so cool. It's so cool. Like, right now, maybe it doesn't sound as awesome as it was, but imagine yourself like you're in this like back in the day, it was considered AAA gaming. Like, it is AAA gaming, but like it was like the game, right? It was the game, especially if you loved WoW back in the day, right? And then you get into these like mysterious like corridors and unfinished zones and secrets and Ironforge back in the day, for the Alliance, it was the place where people would actually gather. It wasn't Stormwind, it was Ironforge. And the fact that like you could just go under Ironforge was something just absolutely beyond unbelievable.
This isn't to be confused with Alpha Ironforge, which is essentially the same as the one we're accustomed to, but with 2 separate levels. Unlike many other things in this list, this wasn't scrapped due to time constraints, but instead from feedback that it was just too confusing and difficult to navigate, which eventually led to them downsizing it to 1 level. But they did leave behind an artifact from this Alpha Ironforge. In the King's Room, you may have noticed a conspicuous gate off to the left side. Behind these gates lies a big secret, and there were a few methods of getting into it. The one that I remember is that at a certain point in the game's history, for some reason you could initiate a duel right here next to the mailbox near the bank, and if you started it and you made a beeline all the way around to King Magni's room, you could reset the expiration timer by going near his throne, and then you would have one player stand near the door, and you'd either sheep or fear them so they get forced through. And
yeah, exactly. You could fear them as well, yeah.
System leading to the core of Ironforge, this remnant of the original Alpha. And this is one of the ultimate secret hidden areas in the game that players would glitch through. Going up the stairs, you have this sort of ritual area, and taking a right at the fork, it sort of loops around, and you have this precarious climb along some ridges overhanging a pit of lava. As players would eventually find, this area would be finished in the Cataclysm expansion, where Magni is crystallized due to a curse until the Battle of Azeroth, where he starts performing sexual favors for an addictive drug called Azerite.
Champion, I can sense Azerite nearby.
In the last episode, there are some areas that would eventually be finished in the first expansion, the Burning Crusade, such as Karazhan or Kolthalas, but there is much more. In fact, all of the Outland was planned to be in vanilla, and it was just like...
Can you believe can you believe a fucking like fucking like the vision they had for just vanilla WoW? Can you fucking believe? And the Outland and Idle and Karazhan. Let's add like let's add Emerald Dream, right? But why not Dalaran? Dalaran, right? And I don't know, like they had such a vision for just vanilla WoW. Can you find game developers these days that have such a just an unrealistic vision of their game? It's like to continents raids, like battlegrounds, 10 like all these different classes, races. Still wasn't enough, you know. Like, why not the fucking why not fucking Outlands and fucking Kerosene and fucking all the war, as well. They wanted to fucking add all the war and the Emerald Dream. Why not the Emerald Dream? This might be enough for like just for a video game. This might be enough. Oh my fucking god, I don't know, but they were really inspired. What I can see is that they were really inspired.
Later pushed back to the Burning Crusade, again due to the time constraints. But what you're looking at here is the original Hellfire Peninsula, which is as far as they made it.
Let me just...
Is pretty recognizable, but at the same time different. Here's what the original Dark Portal looked like before they actually added stairs. Here's Honor Hold, Zethgor. The area overall seems to be much more open, and there are more lingering signs of life compared to its Burning Crusade counterpart. You may recognize the reuse of the giant mushrooms from the Eastern Plaguelands. The Pools of Agonar are also still present, although his remains are much smaller compared to the final release. And off the map, past the Void, can be found some Silithid hides, like what would you find in Silithus, and even some ruins from Tanarus. The zone overall was absolutely huge, and it must have been a really big blow to put so much into it for it to ultimately never see the light of day. Similarly, we also have what people refer to as Old Outland. This is a much smaller entry, and of all places, you'll actually find it in the Dead Mines. By clipping through the wall in the beginning and doing some tricky floating aimed just right, you land on target to a pretty large mass of land, but with really only one thing going on at the center here, with a collection of some of the floating trees that were also found in the old Hellfire Peninsula hovering over this void chasm. So this is clearly just a bit of experimenting by the developers back in the day that didn't really amount to too much, but it became one of the more iconic hidden areas for explorers willing to boundary break. Not really sure for its potential in Classic Plus, but just a cool area that I thought was worth mentioning. But zones weren't the only thing that were pushed back. In fact, as far as pre-alpha, it was planned that players would be able to level from 1 to 70 in vanilla through those missing zones, and one of them was going to be the Dragon Isles. So in the latest expansion, Dragonflight, players have begun to explore the finished version of these isles, but as evidenced by this early development screenshot, they were supposed to be in the game in 2004.
Oh my fucking god, they were really inspired at this point. It's like, maybe they became crazy because they became crazy with the potential of their game, but like, this is what he describes is what game developers probably struggle to share when it comes to their love of creating video games. Like, take the time to just like think about like all the content that they talked that Matt Season Show talked about, that the developers planned for vanilla WoW, and think about like how much has been scrapped or put on like had to be released like way later, just because do you understand how much content they fucking like the fucking release? Oh my fucking god, it is unbelievable.
In fact, there even exists a map. As for why it was abandoned, as John Stats described it,
maybe it's because like there's like 17 other like fucking like maps before that were also abandoned.
His book, The Warcraft Diary, it just didn't really make sense in the lore since the dragons are mostly good. You have Alex Straza as the Red Ranger, Ysera is the green, Malagos the blue, Nazdormu for yellow. Did you know that the Power Rangers was 2 shows spliced together? The action portion was actually a Japanese program called Super Sentai, and then the teenage drama portion was filmed to give them backstories and personalities. Anyways, the point being here, the villain Dragonflight at the time was Deathwing, and the Black Dragonflight, whom players had encounters with via the Onyxia and Nefarian fights. So having an entire continent with just one Dragonflight as an enemy felt like it would be too repetitive for players. Shoutouts to the Warlords of Draenor, by the way. And probably due to time constraints, the whole thing was scrapped until, as it turns out, 2022 with the Dragonflight expansion. They did get as far as some model and terrain work for the zone, with some completely unique buildings that never made it into the game, curiously enough. And as evidenced by the screenshot, there's even to be a raid here. I can only imagine that this giant palace would have been it. It's actually an absolutely enormous zone, so again, it must have been a pretty big blow to put all of this work into it, only ending up having to scrap it. But that's about it for this episode. Thanks for letting me be your tour guide. If you have more stuff that you think is worthy for coverage, feel free to leave it in the comments. But I think between these 2 episodes that I put out recently, if SOD were to ever go down a Classic Plus route, which who knows if it'll happen, I think it's safe to say that there's no shortage of content that was planned by the original developers that they can tap into. But even if none of that happens, I hope you at least found the video interesting. I think exploration is honestly sort of a lost art in today's goal-oriented player base, and I kind of feel like doing more stuff like this, so you can expect more videos similar to this in the future. We'll probably go expansion by expansion, and we'll look at everything that ended up on the cutting room floor. Regardless of all of that, like the video if you liked it, because I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
This was great. This was really great. Thank you so much, Matt Season Show, for another awesome video. And subscribe to Matt Season Show if you didn't. Yeah. Let me just check my sound. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue some WoW. Let's do some an interesting, like on this one is really
In this video we'll be going over some of the worst patch.
This one I'm really curious because like this is really like a detail within like remember what patch we're in, like ever thought about, oh yeah, this patch exactly, it was the patch, you know? And wow, like probably like some hardcore gamers like can tell that, but like top 10 worst patches, like I'm actually curious about this one.
Patches throughout the history of WoW, moving from those that were somewhat controversial within subsections of the community all the way down to catastrophic for the majority of players. First up at number 10 is patch 1.12 Drums of War, which released August 22nd, 2006. Since this was the last major content patch implemented before WoW's first expansion, The Burning Crusade, Team 2 actually settled on using this version of the game as a foundation for building classic WoW, due to it representing the most stable state of vanilla WoW. The patch itself centered around PvP, introducing world PvP objectives like capturing towers and resources in Silithus and Eastern Plaguelands for buffs and rewards. as well as cross-realm functionality for the Alterac Valley, Warsong Gulch, and Arathi Basin battlegrounds. Additionally, the patch included a significant revamp for rogue talents, as well as balance changes for druids, hunters, mages, paladins, priests, shamans, warlocks, and warriors, along with some further general bug fixes and quality of life improvements as well. Now, the reason this patch makes the list, however, is mostly due to the introduction of cross-realm battlegrounds, and the slippery slope effect that some players feel that this caused. By linking Alterac Valley, Warsong Gulch, and Arathi Basin across multiple servers, Blizzard intended to create a larger matchmaking pools and reduce queue times. This was a technical milestone at the time.
Back in the day, you did battlegrounds. You knew your enemy. You knew when the unbeatable the unbeatable enemies were there, and when they were not, and you just adapted.
But the change did also lead to some players feeling like this was a major shift in the social fabric of the game. Prior to the change, battlegrounds were server-specific, meaning players would often fight against or alongside the same names, building rivalries and friendships in the process. But with cross-realm queues, that sense of community was kind of lost. That said, there are many redeeming qualities for patch 1.12. This wasn't a buggy mess, content drought, or failed climax to an entire expansion. It's simply a polarizing moment in WoW's history for some of the player base, and that's why it only makes number 10 on this list. And at number 9, we have patch 7.3.5, Scaling. Legion's fourth medium patch, which released January 16th, 2018. The major feature of this patch was, as the name suggests, to introduce Legion's level scaling to every single other zone within Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdoms, Outland, Northrend, Pandaria, and Draenor, as well as all of the corresponding dungeons. This meant that players could now quest in almost any zone or expansion they wanted, and in any order with mobs and rewards scaling to their level regardless, which was a welcome change as leveling alt had grown very stale for long-term players by the time Legion came out, because zones used to have a strict level range which players had to follow in a predetermined order. In addition to scaling though, the patch also added a new battleground, Seething Shore, which was tied to Azerite and teased upcoming story elements from Battle for Azeroth. Story quests around the aftermath of Sargeras stabbing his sword into Silithus were also added, setting up the next expansion. And finally, Ulduar time walking and some legendary item changes were also implemented as well. The reason this patch makes this list is because the scaling system was actually quite divisive though. While many praised the new freedom to quest their zones in whatever order you wanted, mobs now felt a bit bullet spongy. Leveling itself had slowed down dramatically, with the sense of progression now feeling extremely diminished, which was quite the whiplash considering we were coming out of Legion, the ultimate power fantasy expansion. This was also made worse due to a number of players experiencing new, sudden frame rate drops and UI bugs post-patch. And on top of that, the patch was extremely light on new content, so there was barely anything to do. And at number 8, we have patch 7.1.5, Class Tuning. Legion's second medium patch, which released January 6, 2017. This patch mainly involved the Fun Police, a complete overhaul to class balance with nearly every class and spec being affected by sweeping adjustments. Shadow Priests, for instance, found their Void form now only increased shadow damage by 20% instead of 30%. New micro-holidays were also added, such as Hatching of the Hippogriffs and Spring Balloon Festival, designed to add flavor without any major rewards. The patch also marked a return for the Brawlers Guild with new solo boss fights and rewards such as Ogre Watch, Ray D Tier, and the Brawler's Burly Basilisk Mount. And finally, it added Mista Pandaria time walking and a visual update to Blade's Edge Arena. The class changes of this patch were very unpopular, with many players logging in to suddenly find their class nerfed or reworked mid-expansion, disrupting raid balance, PvP metas, and personal playstyles. For example, marksmanship hunters had their vulnerable mechanic completely reworked, which in essence gutted their smooth rotation and forced a much clunkier, proc-dependent one instead. And warlocks found themselves being funneled by Blizzard towards using soul effigy, despite the majority of them hating the ability. Ultimately, when combined with the fact that this patch was, again, fairly content light, it created the impression that Blizzard were tinkering for the sake of tinkering, rather than delivering actual meaningful changes. And at number 7, we have patch 5.1, Landfall, the first major content patch for Mista Pandaria, released on November 27th, 2012. With this patch came the beginning of the Pandaren campaign, introducing a daily quest hub for each faction in the Krasserang Wild Zone. Although with 2 new reputations, Operation Shieldwall for Alliance and the Dominance Offensive for Horde. As players gained reputation, they unlocked cutscenes and heavy lore quests featuring faction leaders like Varian Wren of the Alliance, Vol'jin of the Darkspear Trolls, and Garrosh Hellscream, War Chief of the Horde at the time. The patch also introduced the Brawlers Guild for the first time, a new solo PvE feature allowing players to fight unique bosses in an underground fight club. More scenarios were added, continuing the experimental story delivery system introduced in Mista Pandaria. And finally, pet battles were updated with the new inclusion of pet stones as well. The reason patch 5.1 makes this list is due to the particularly grindy nature of the new daily content. There were 4 different quest hubs: Bilgewater Beach, Domination Point, Lion's Landing, and Ruins of Ogudai, with only 1 hub available offering 5 daily quests for a grand total of 900 rep per day. The quests themselves were basically just different variations of kill, delivery, or gathering quests, so they got old pretty fast. Not to mention that MoP was already overloaded with daily grinds for factions, such as Golden Lotus, Calaxy, and the August Celestials. So adding even more grinds made 5.1 feel like Blizzard were doubling down on that approach. Many players just straight up burnt out very quickly, feeling like they were being forced to log in every single day to avoid falling behind. On top of that, the new story quests were reputation gated, causing frustration for those who were enjoying the story, but didn't particularly want to do chores every day just to experience it. And next up at number 6, we have patch 2.2, aka Voice Chat. Released September 25th, 2007 as part of the Burning Crusade expansion, a new built-in voice chat feature became available in-game for the first time, allowing players to join voice channels and groups and raids directly.
I remember that this existed. We all had TeamSpeak. Discord didn't exist back in the day, and I never saw anyone use this this feature whatsoever. I never did. I actually never did.
Directly through the WoW client. There was also an improved chat interface, giving players better channel controls, Mac movie capture integration, letting Mac users record in-game footage natively, and a number of class, profession, and item tweaks as well. However, the in-game voice chat is renowned for being absolutely terrible. Not only was it low quality, but it lacked a lot of core features that third-party tools like Vent and TeamSpeak already offered. Tools which the majority of WoW players were already widely using anyway, so ultimately most guilds just completely ignored the new feature entirely. Players had expected something more substantial, with new dungeons, new raids, and new story progression, but what they got was a useless feature that no one asked for. And coming after the massive 2.1 Black Temple patch, this felt like a massive letdown. And next, at number 5, patch 4.1, Rise of the Zandalari, the first major content patch for Cataclysm, released on April 26, 2011. Zul'Gurub and Zul'Aman were revamped and reintroduced as level 85 5-man dungeons with updates to mechanics, loot, and achievements. As well as this, we got the Dungeon Finder facility, which streamlined queuing for random dungeons. Guilds got new weekly challenge tasks and dungeons, raids, and raided battlegrounds, which groups could tackle for additional guild experience, achievements, and gold. And on top of all that, class changes like Death Knight's Raise Ally ability being revamped into a proper battle res, as well as general UI and bug fixes. The reason 4.1 makes this list is mainly due to the headline feature of Zul'Aman and Zul'Gurub being recycled. Most of the community felt kinda cheated, especially since Cataclysm had already been criticized for lacking any fresh or innovative endgame content anyway. Unlike most major patches, 4.1 did not even include a raid tier, which left raiders with nothing to do until patch 4.2 in June of 2011. So this patch very much felt like filler to a large chunk of the player base, and reinforced the opinion that Cataclysm's overall content was pretty thin. And at number 4, we have patch 9.1, Chains of Domination, the first content patch of Shadowlands, released June 29th, 2021. This patch introduced quite a lot of new things. Korthia, City of Secrets, a new zone of daily quests, rares, and collectibles leading into the new 10-boss raid, Sanctum of Domination. A raid featuring battles and story beats involving major lore characters such as Garrosh Hellscream, the Remnant of Ner'zhul, Kel'Thuzad, and a fight against Sylvanas Windrunner herself. This patch also introduced a new mega dungeon, Tazavesh, the Veiled Market, an 8-boss instance with a unique broker theme, which continued to be important in the War Within expansion. 9.1 also added flying to the 4 Covenant zones in Shadowlands, making leveling for alts and general exploration easier, and finally it continued the overall Covenant campaign storylines as well. Besides from the obvious points that Shadowlands was not well received as an expansion overall, and that Blizzard faced a huge scandal regarding their workplace culture shortly after this patch release, 9.1 also arrived after a 7th-month gap from Shadowlands' launch, which was one of the longest waits in WoW's history. Expectations were understandably high, with the patch itself pretty much guaranteed to underdeliver after such a long wait, and underdeliver it did.
We kind of got used to 7 months for like a content patch. It's still a patch, it still has content, it's still playable, and it's still like you can still have fun with it. Can you believe how ungrateful we became as lucky players finding an IP that is really rich enough? Because it was 7 months without think other games without releases for 7 months. Think like all the patches that are like just loot boxes, or like just like fucking battle passes these days, or like just one new map, you know?
With an uninspired and repetitive grind in Korthia, where progression was tied to heavy time gating and reputation farming that felt more like busy work than meaningful gameplay. And calling the raid story beats divisive would be an understatement, with many players feeling Sylvanas' sudden redemption arc was unearned, as well as unfortunately and irritatingly predictable. This patch, for many, symbolizes a bit of a breaking point in WoW history, with Blizzard themselves acknowledging that many things needed to change going forward. And at number 3, we have patch 4.3, Hour of Twilight, the largest and final content patch released during Cataclysm on November 29th, 2011. This patch contained the 8-boss raid Dragon Soul, culminating in a sort of battle against Deathwing, as well as 3 new 5-man dungeons, End Time, Well of Eternity, and the Hour of Twilight. Alongside these additions, we also got the LFR tool, allowing players to queue for raids in the same way as the Dungeon Finder system. Transmog was also introduced, fundamentally changing the game in a lot of ways, as well as Void storage. Rogues got their Fangs of the Father legendary dagger.
I actually never understood what the fuck is Void storage. I'll check it out someday, but like...
Golad, Twilight of the Aspects, and Tyriosh, Nightmare of Ages. And the Darkmoon Fair was completely revamped and moved to Darkmoon Island, with new minigames, rewards, and achievements to boot. The final raid of Cataclysm was anticipated to be epic, but what players actually received was a repetitive and frustrating Spine of Deathwing fight, followed by an anticlimactic Madness of Deathwing ending. A lot of the raid also reused existing environments, such as Dragonblight and Wormrest Temple, instead of creating new exciting settings. And alongside that, we have the entire LFR debate, which still goes on to this day. Before LFR, only a small fraction of players ever saw raid bosses, so this system certainly did improve accessibility, but many raiders felt that it cheapened the raiding experience overall, devaluing their accomplishment.
Yeah, but like you gotta fucking like... gamers need to fucking like understand that like not everyone get as the resources to actually enjoy this content, and more players enjoying these stories, being able to be part of to be part of these stories is a good thing. The more the better. And this is something that like I never understood past a certain point, when I myself understood that I became quite the jerk.
The very forgiving difficulty also potentially encouraged sloppy gameplay, since most mechanics could basically just be ignored completely. Whilst traditional raiding required close-knit guilds and teamwork, LFR also kind of fostered the more impersonal behavior that has become a little bit synonymous with WoW over time, leading to things like AFKing and toxic behavior due to being mostly anonymous and cross-realm.
Yeah, but like now that you see it, do you see often like AFK people in LFR? Let's be honest. I barely see it.
LFR also used a group loop system, which led to rampant ninja looting as well. All in all, patch 4.3's LFR system has created tensions between casual and hardcore players ever since. And at number 2, we have patch 8.3, Visions of N'Zoth. This was the third and final content patch for Battle for Azeroth, released on January 14th, 2020. Including the new 12-boss raid in Iolotha, the Waking City, the original 1 to 5 player horrific vision scenarios and corrupted versions of Stormwind and Orgrimmar, as well as rotating void invasions in Uldum in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. A legendary upgradable cloak, Astrakamas, which was mandatory to both story and raid progression. The corrupted gear system, which replaced Titan forging with randomly rolled corruption effects on gear. For example, effects like Expedient, which increase the amount of haste you gain from all sources by either 6, 9, or 12%. We also got Volpera and Mechanome allied races, and last but not least, a major redesign of the auction house interface and functionality. The reason patch 8.3 makes number 2 on this list is mostly down to the corrupted gear system, which is considered to be one of Blizzard's worst gearing experiments. In a nutshell, each piece of gear had a random chance to have a randomly generated corruption effect on it. Although you could visit Mother in the Chamber of Heart to purchase specific effects, those were on a rotating basis. Wearing corrupted items would raise the level of your base corruption, with the net total leading to harmful side effects, such as grasping tendrils at 1 corruption, all the way to inescapable consequences at corruption 200. In order to offset the all the way to inescapable consequences at corruption 200. In order to offset the net total of corruption, you needed to equip and upgrade your Astrakamas Shroud of Resolve, which involved tedious grinds inside horrific visions. Grinds that had the potential to be extremely punishing due to the fact that you could fail a run, and you needed vessels of horrific visions to even enter them in the first place. The corruption system also led to massive power imbalances due to the frustrating RNG nature, with many players focusing on chasing very specific corruption effects. And the patch itself launched with numerous bugs and lag, only adding to players' frustration further. On top of all of that, the ending of the new raid was extremely lackluster, with the cinematic after N'Zoth's defeat being considered to be one of the worst at that point in time, due to how abruptly it came to a halt and how unsatisfying it left players feeling. Excitement around facing N'Zoth was incredibly high due to it being the only old god left as far as current lore at the time had led us to believe, so players certainly felt underwhelmed by the raid's climax. However, at least this patch did deliver a lot of different features, even if they were poorly designed or poorly received ones, which is more than can be said for the number 1 spot. And that brings us to number 1, the patch 6.1 Garrison Update. The first major patch of Warlords of Draenor released on February 14th, 2015, introducing fantastic features such as Twitter integration and the selfie camera, as well as updates to the Garrison and Heirloom Collection tab, some graphical improvements to the Blood Elf model along with anti-aliasing and lighting effects. Small profession tweaks, you get the picture. Now, the reason 6.1 is definitely the worst patch in World of Warcraft's history is because it very nearly killed the game entirely. One of the few occasions where the community actually widely agreed this patch added absolutely nothing of value. No raid, no dungeon, no zone, no content. Sure, the selfie camera has its niche uses, but ultimately it became a bit of a running joke, considered a prime example of how Blizzard can sometimes completely lose touch with their own players. Warlords of Draenor already had the reputation of being one of the thinnest expansions in terms of content, and this only solidified the criticism, creating a general feeling that players had been straight up overcharged for the expansion. Not to mention that the Twitter integration was also kind of borked and didn't really work at launch anyway, proving to be yet another misstep with this patch. The game desperately needed a win during WoD, so this patch could not have come at a worse time, and that's why it's placed firmly at number 1.
Thank you so much, Irma for this video. If you don't know him, he does a lot of like WoW content. So subscribe, leave a like to what he does. It is and is really a wholesome YouTuber.
POD.
All right, let's get into some music history.
POD.
You don't know POD? I don't know POD. I don't remember what it means. Some of my favorite songs are from these POD. So yeah, I'm actually curious. It's such a unique unique band. Let's just check this out. If you never listened to POD, give it a listen and give it a try. It is really, and listen to the, don't limit yourself to their popular release. That's all I'll tell you.
POD would have an enormous amount of success for an act that was frequently labeled by the media as a Christian group. Apart from being labeled Christian, POD came up when nu metal was super popular, seeing frequent comparisons to the likes of Rage Against the Machine, Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, as well as Korn. But if you dig a little deeper, you'd see that their lyrics are more spiritual and positive. POD got so big that, I'm not kidding guys, people started...
This is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. It is, the term spiritual is the term. Like, and there is like, I'd say like, there is like much more colors. It's just that they look like other artists that are actually really dark, like produce dark arts, produce dark art that is really, let's say, sad or like serious, where it's like, I mean, look at them, good vibes, huh? Good vibes, these guys, huh? Actually, yes, actually good vibes, really good vibes, really good vibes, but like
started naming their children after one of the members' daughters, it would result in an extremely uncommon name suddenly becoming one of the most popular baby names in America. But despite POD being open about their religious beliefs, they also frequently butted heads with Christians who you think might have actually embraced them. Today, because you guys requested it, let's talk about the history of POD. POD would form in 1992 with drummer Noah Wolf Bernardo and guitarist Marcos Curiel, who would both hail from San Diego, California. They would jam together playing parties, covering Metallica and Slayer. Bernardo would have a cousin, which would be vocalist Sonny Sandoval, and Sonny had just lost his mother to leukemia. She was only 36 years old when she passed. It was during her final year alive she converted to Christianity. Sonny saw the comfort that his mother's faith brought her, and so he decided to follow in her footsteps. It was during this time that Wolf actually asked his cousin Sonny to join the group to keep his attention away from his mother's death and to help him stay out of trouble, since they grew up in a pretty rough part of San Diego. Wolf, meanwhile, was born to a 15-year-old mother. His dad got into drugs, his parents separated, and at one point his dad was living homeless for a few years before he suddenly found God, got sober, and returned home, and his parents reconciled. Wolf was impressed with the transformation that religion brought his father and also followed in his footsteps. In fact, Wolf's father formed Rescue Records, the first label POD was signed to, and he soon became their first manager. POD's members were a melting pot, being a multiracial band. Even Sonny was multiracial, having a Hawaiian, Mexican, and Italian background. The band would round out their lineup with bassist Gabe Portillo, and he adopted the
they have such a colorful music. If you understand what I mean by colorful music, like, they have such a colorful music, unlike any other.
Moniker POD, or payable on death, which is a banking term, but according to Spin, POD was really a metaphor for atonement. The members would hail from San Ysidro, a community in southern San Diego, which they referred to as Southtown. Their neighborhood was located immediately north of the US-Mexican border, and Sonny would tell the
I would love to tell you, yeah, listen to this song from them, you know, because like there's like a couple songs that like, but really just discover it by yourself. If you're into this type of like, well, you'll discover either way what this sounds like, right? I will suggest you to just like to do the discovery by yourself, because it is such a powerful and just beautiful artistry. It's just such a beautiful artistry.
Arizona Republic, Money's tight, broken families, drugs, everything's part of the mix. Wuv even at one point would tell the Charlotte Observer that most of his friends were in prison. POD's members would grow up on reggae, hip-hop, metal, as well as hardcore, and this music represented the types of chaos that the members were surrounded by in their everyday life. Sonny's early gigs with POD would see him perform with his back to the audience because he was shy and he didn't envision himself ever fronting a group. But Sonny also wanted to show people that he changed, as he wasn't exactly a choir boy growing up, telling an interviewer, "I never planned to be in front of people, but with this music, it was a way to get things off my chest, and I would play keg parties just so people could say, man, Sonny's changed." One of POD's earliest influences was a San Diego group called House of Suffering, whose frontman ended up rapping over heavy music. They also influenced Rage Against the Machine as well. Sonny would remark, "We thought, man, that's cool, rapping over this heavy style of music." POD would soon play keg parties and bars, and they even started touring across America, while also supporting themselves with jobs at coffee shops, church basements, and YMCAs. One of POD's biggest fan bases outside of San Diego came from the Midwest in Detroit. Within their first year together, POD had gained enough of a following in San Diego that they were opening for the likes of Cypress Hill, Green Day, and the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. The band would undergo a lineup change in 1994 as their bassist would leave, and they enlisted Cleveland bassist Mark Trey Daniels, who was actually poached from a local funk band. POD's early music was more overtly religious, with their debut record Snuff the Punk featuring even a pro-life song called Abortion is Murder. The band in numerous interviews linked their overt and militant lyrics to immaturity, with Sonny telling the Daily Telegraph, "When you become a Christian, all of a sudden you start to live life with this rapture mentality." In a separate interview, Sonny would tell the Record newspaper from New Jersey, "Our early stuff is cheesy. I was a new Christian, and it was all about, I'm going to go out and tell everyone all about it."
This is actually beautiful, like that an artist that like is able to recognize that like they found faith, they found religion, right? And they are willing to actually say that like, yeah, man, like, yeah, friend, that was me, and well, it was what it was, huh? I just found like a lot of respect for this band, for this band, just because of this.
Their early militant lyrics even resulted in the band opening for some bands whose fans were skinheads. While not every show devolved into violence, Sonny would tell the No Jumper podcast that they would bring a lot of their friends and homies around just in case anything went down. As POD got more experienced and further into their career, their lyrics got more subtle. But POD seemed to have a strange relationship with the religious community. After they started getting buzz in and around San Diego, they were actually asked to play a local church for some students who were heading down south to Mexico on a mission to build homes. As the band started to play their first song, the youth pastor told the group that they had to stop. Their music was too heavy. For the next 6 years or so, the band were independent, putting out 2 LPs, 1994's Snuff the Punk and 1996's Brown, as well as a live recording called Payable on Death Live. When the band first formed, so-called nu metal really hadn't caught on, and Sonny would even recall seeing Korn come to town, only to have 4 people in the audience. But the tide slowly began to turn. POD's independent releases were selling tens of thousands of copies. It was only a matter of time before they nabbed a major recording contract. POD's music seemed to be in stark contrast to what was popular in San Diego, with Sonny telling an interviewer, "The music scene in San Diego is a lot of punk rock and ska, but we had a heavier sound." The band's early days saw them draw frequent comparisons to Ice-T and Body Count, and then later Rage Against the Machine, and then eventually nu metal. The band themselves were now full-time musicians by the mid-90s, working on recording and touring, so they didn't have a lot of time to seek out business opportunities and record labels. They would enlist a friend of theirs from Oklahoma who used to put on shows to go seek out these business opportunities. They would end up getting the attention of an A&R man from Atlantic Records called John Rubely. Rubely had helped actually start Lollapalooza, and he would go to a POD show in Walled Lake, Michigan. There was about 1,000 kids there, and he took the band to Denny's after the show and told POD that Atlantic had platinum artists on their roster, and they couldn't even get 1,000 people to come to their shows. The band ended up playing a showcase for Atlantic in Los Angeles, and they had an off night. Other executives from Atlantic were in attendance, and they were unimpressed. but one of the execs at Atlantic told Rubley that he had one shot to pick any band he wanted to sign, and he was adamant that POD was going to be that act. Sonny would reveal in an interview that they wanted to sign with Atlantic because the label also didn't tell them to tone down their spiritual message, and soon enough, POD would sign with Atlantic Records.
Yeah, and the spiritual message, like when you listen to their I didn't okay, I'll be on let's be honest. I didn't listen to their early work, right? But what I listened to, their spiritual message is so clean, so like it's not like it's not some sort of barbarism trying to sell you a philosophy or trying to tell you that you're wrong in a way. It's more, think about like more like nature, spirituality, like love, you know, stuff like that. And the messages they preach, you know. And this is why I really I'm like, they're really one of a kind, you know, because they don't preach about, at least from obviously I listen to my favorite songs, but like I never felt like I was like pressed on to believe something, pressed on to change my way of life. I was more introduced to some spirit, some loving spirituality for music that I didn't saw anywhere else, you know.
With a major label behind them, POD's first record for Atlantic would be titled The Fundamentals of Southtown. It would be a nod to their upbringing in San Diego, with Sonny telling the Intelligencer Journal, "We grew up in a diverse culture. There's no segregation. It's a big old melting pot. You have blacks and Mexicans and whites and Filipinos all mixed together." The album for Atlantic would be produced by Howard Benson, who had previously worked with Sepultura, Body Count, and Motorhead. Religious undertones could be found on the album with tracks like Psalm 150, Set Your Eyes to Zion, and Outcast. And the album actually contained two covers, one for regular retailers and a censored version for Christian retailers. Some Christian retailers took issue with the cigar and what they referred to as pagan imagery. POD soon landed airplay on MTV's program TRL, or Total Request Live, and a spot on the soundtrack for the Adam Sandler film Little Nicky. The tracks Southtown and Rock the Party would be the biggest hits off their debut record for Atlantic, with Rock the Party spending 10 weeks on MTV's program TRL, making the program's year-end list at number 34. The song also won a Gospel Music Award, and the album would peak at number 51 in America and went platinum in the US. Sonny would tell the No Jumper podcast that MTV's TRL was instrumental in breaking the band and helping the album go platinum, and it also forced their label Atlantic to take greater notice of POD. Many interviews with the band around this time also highlighted the album's success, despite not getting a lot of radio airplay. POD were doing what few so-called Christian acts could ever do. They crossed into the mainstream. The group would refer to their fans as warriors, and apart from playing Christian festivals like Purple Door, they also appeared on the lineup for Ozfest starting in 2000. It was a difficult transition going from Purple Door to Ozfest, with Sonny telling the St. Lucia News Tribune, "The kids usually don't know what to make of us. There's Christian music that just wants to entertain you. We're not like that. We have something to say." The band would also tour with Korn in Europe. They opened for Primus stateside and even headlined their own series of gigs. Sonny would also claim that POD wanted to reach people who craved heavy music, but who also thought that criminal behavior should go along with it. And that's something you read time and time again with this band. The Christian label was really bestowed upon them by the press, as well as certain Christian groups who wanted to claim POD as their own, as well as probably their record label. The band didn't like it because they thought that being labeled Christian meant a lot of people who weren't religious or from a different religion would simply write them off. Sonny would summarize his beliefs telling the Intelligencer Journal, "I'm a Christian, but I don't like titles. I'm just a guy who tries his hardest every day to love his neighbor." POD also tried to distance themselves from the Christian conservative movement in the States, with Sonny telling Spin Magazine, I don't even like saying I'm a Christian because it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. I don't care what Christian groups think of me, with Wolf adding, we don't fit in with the conservative values of Christian America. For us, it's all about the relationship we have with God, not what he's done for our church. POD's hard exterior shell didn't give away their religious backgrounds right away, as Sunny and the members sported tattoos, multiple piercings, they wore all black clothing, and sported dreadlocks. Sunny would tell the Sunday News that he adopted his new look after he actually became religious, and some people who attended POD shows didn't realize the band was Christian until Sunny would announce from the stage, "God loves you guys." As a result, the band would admit they sometimes found themselves being ridiculed. POD were really just offering a positive message and being the antithesis to everything else that was popular at the time. POD also couldn't, of course, escape the comparisons to another religious group, Striper. Probably didn't help that they had a brown Jesus statue on stage during some of their live shows. And with the popularity of nu metal around the late 90s, POD would soon be lumped in with the other popular acts of the day, Limp Bizkit, as well as Korn. Sunny, for his part, could see nu metal's rise, telling Josiah Lee, "I remember seeing the Limp Bizkit Nookie video for the first time, and it didn't matter whether I was a Limp Bizkit fan or not. When I saw that, I said, this is freaking huge. It encompassed rock and roll, rebellion, sex. It had everything. It was just visually stunning." Another part of POD's success that's often overlooked is how they interacted with fans. They encouraged their fans to stay after shows and unload about what was going on in their life. In fact, the band would admit to the Charlotte Observer that some fans, instead of asking for traditional things like autographs or photos, asked for the band members to pray for them. With the success of their first album for Atlantic, POD wanted to make a more straightforward rock record. Sunny would tell an Arizona
And this is something that, like, when you actually are honest and are not disruptive or do not bother others with your religion, with your faith, with your with your philosophy, like, this is something that can happen. Can you believe that this happened and nothing was said about it? You know why? Because these people are respectful to each other, respect others, know what boundaries are, know that know what and know the what and what nots, and this can happen. And as someone that is, like, not into, like, I don't know, like, it's something that that I never experienced, but I will tell you, like, this is the first. Think about all the headlines, all the drama that you heard about, people preaching, people forgetting boundaries and actually hurting other people. And I think that, like, damn, this documentary just makes me love these people, like, so much more. And now, and for their music, for their art, I was already admiring them quite a lot.
A publication, we didn't want to make the same record, so I think we're just trying to grow as musicians. We wanted to put the old rock and roll sound to it, but in a new way. The Atlantic at one point tried to get the band to work with outside songwriters, but POD wasn't interested in doing that. September 11, 2001 was a traditional release day for albums because it was a Tuesday, and coming out that day was POD's second release for Atlantic, titled Satellite. The band had played a concert for MTV in Battery Park a week before the 9/11 attacks, and on 9/11 the band was actually on a plane headed back home to California. The plan was to play a release party the same night in Hollywood, but of course the show was canceled. Sunny would tell Louder Sound, everything just stopped. Our record didn't matter at that point. It was just about being there for each other and being there for the world if we needed to be. Following 9/11, company Clear Channel Communications, which owned a majority of the radio stations across America, circulated a memo with a list of songs that their program directors compiled that they labeled as having questionable lyrics. So while songs were being banned or not played on radio because of the 9/11 attacks, POD's first single from Satellite, titled Alive, would be embraced by a hurting nation. Its lyrics of gratitude and hope seemed to connect with listeners. It would actually be released a few months before, in July of 2001, and Alive, in a short period of time, soon became MTV's most played video for the entire year and the biggest song on TRL for the month of September. Wolf would recall to the Star Tribune, people were reacting to the song Alive, saying it made them feel good, gave them hope. Sonny would even recall to the Citizen's Voice how they received a letter from one fan who contemplated taking their own life, but the song Alive changed their mind. I will point out that the POD song Boom from the same album made Clear Channel's list of lyrically questionable songs. It would be released as the third single in April of 2002, but it wasn't as commercially successful, peaking at number 21 on the charts. Prior to recording Satellite, POD had actually been held up in a place called Santee, a sleepy town in San Diego County, rehearsing new material. It was during these sessions the band were one day on their way to the studio when they were caught in a traffic jam. Sadly, there had been a shooting at a nearby school where one kid opened fire on his classmates, killing 2 students and wounding 13. Sonny would tell Louder Sound, "Here we were, stuck in the studio, feeling helpless. This is our city, we're heartbroken. But then we thought, we're musicians, we're writing a record, we gotta make a song about it." The resulting anti-violence track, Youth of a Nation, would go on to become one of POD's biggest songs of their career, with the lyrics questioning why a kid would commit such a heinous act. Youth of a Nation would be released as a second single from Satellite in November of 2001. The POD had initially planned on bringing in their own fans to sing on the chorus of the song, but the members soon heard from their attorney, who claimed that such a move would land them in hot water with California law and union rules, so a choir had to be brought in to sing on the track instead. Youth of a Nation would be POD's only #1 hit on the mainstream rock tracks chart of their career, and it peaked at number 28 on the pop charts. The band butted heads with MTV over the music video when the scene of a car driving down the highway was supposed to have a girl riding on the hood acting like a free spirit. But MTV's owner Viacom felt that kids were too easily influenced and might replicate that scene. Satellite, for its part, would go on to sell 3 million copies in America, being certified triple platinum, and another 1 million copies around the world. But despite the success, POD seemed to be getting more disillusioned with the recording industry, with all the press coverage, as well as the misinterpretation of their lyrics and their motives. SoundScan.
Yeah, because so you have to understand that like POD as really they are really good writers, and the way they actually their poetry, the way they their metaphors or are really something is really something that like if you are not into this type of vibe, this type of culture, this type of like music, this type of like this type of philosophies, this type of like colors, let's say, right? Like this, if you're not into that, you will really struggle to understand what they mean, and will probably be completely lost and misunderstand and probably feel that this music is actually not this, that it does not connect with the idea that they actually are trying to, that they are promoting and that they are presenting themselves with. And this is something that like I can understand. What can I tell you? These fucking artists. Too creative creates problem within the industry, because like because it has this energy that is like this creativity that like you really have to get into it, and for something that is estranged for that from that, like that is like ignorant of all this. It is something that will lead you to kind of be like to be lost.
And showed that 500,000 POD records were bought just in Christian stores alone, and the band were also heavily marketed as a Christian band by their own label, in addition to the Gospel Music Association. In 2001 and 2002, POD were amongst one of the highest profile rock acts in America. In addition to being compared to nu metal acts, POD soon started drawing a lot of comparisons to another massive band at this time, Creed. Despite being nominated for the Gospel Music Awards multiple years in a row, the band didn't attend the ceremony, feeling the organization was taking credit for their success and playing politics with the whole thing. Despite the band's success, though, some Christian groups criticized the group for sharing the stage with so-called secular acts who they considered vulgar, pointing their finger at POD's multiple Ozfest appearances in the early 2000s. POD, however, shot back at critics, telling the Daily Mirror, "At every Ozfest show, there's horns and devils somewhere. But the thing is, this is a stage, homie, and those fools are entertainers. It's fake. Backstage, it's all caviar, 3 catered meals a day, and personal trainers, and therapists for all the people who don't know how to handle this rock and roll life." In order to prevent his ego from getting too big after a multi-platinum album, Sonny would take a break from music, engrossing himself in, I'm not kidding you guys, digging ditches, doing landscaping work, and hanging out at home with his family. POD would return in 2003 with their self-titled...
Wow, this is god damn, it's so inspirational. God damn, these people are so inspirational. I was not expecting to discover so much beauty of a band that I still listen to for so long. God damn.
album. It was a few months prior to the album's release, it would be announced that guitarist Marcos Curiel was actually leaving the group. The reason for his departure was said to be his side project that he had at the time called the Accident Experiment. His bandmates felt like POD was no longer a priority for their guitarist, as they were eager to go record a song for the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack. It soon escalated into a war of words, with Curiel claiming that it was actually a difference in spiritual beliefs that led him to being fired. His bandmates, however, claimed at the time that he left on his own accord. Curiel would be replaced by a longtime friend of the group, guitarist Jason Truby, who had previously toured with POD when he played in a band called Living Sacrifice. Truby at the time was actually working as a landscaper in Little Rock, Arkansas, when he got the call to join POD. Truby's background included classical jazz and hardcore, and the band credited the guitarist with helping expand the group's sound. In fact, the members of POD later admitted that the split with Curiel nearly ended the band as they were a little hesitant to bring in an outsider to the group. POD's self-titled record would be the first, according to Billboard, to be packaged with a video game. PS2's Amplitude. Harmonix, the makers of Amplitude, would later go on to create Guitar Hero and later on the great game Rock Band. Shout out to
There's
those guys
no
for
way.
DLC for Rock Band 4, which recently
There's
ended.
no way.
POD's self-titled record saw less rap, but the band chalked that up to their new guitarist. The cover art for the album saw so many years ago onto the video game. POD's self-titled record would be the first, according to Billboard, to be packaged with a video game. PS2's Amplitude. Harmonix, the makers of Amplitude, would later go on to create Guitar Hero and later on the great game Rock Band.
Can you believe that the group POD offered a video game, a PlayStation 2 video game, for free with their album, and this video game became successful and it became Guitar Hero and Rock Band? Can you fucking believe that? Can you fucking believe that a small band that started with nothing helped so many kids to discover music through video games, and just because they told themselves let the kids fucking have something with our album. What the fuck? This is so awesome. Bless you guys, bless you, you are blessed. God damn.
Shout out to those guys for doing so many years of DLC for Rock Band 4, which recently ended. POD's self-titled record saw less rap, but the band chalked that up to their new guitarist. The cover art for the album would anger some Christian retailers, with 85% of them refusing to stock it. POD responded by telling fans to boycott Christian stores that refused to carry the album. POD would soon hit the road with Linkin Park and Hoobastank as part of the tour for the record. They were riding high, but they ran into problems with their record label. Atlantic was undergoing a massive shakeup, as were a lot of other labels. The whole team who had previously worked with the band were fired. This was in large part due to declining record sales thanks to internet piracy. Sonny would tell the No Jumper podcast that people at Atlantic were more concerned with keeping their job rather than pushing the artist. Even though POD had sold boatloads of records for Atlantic, they were still negotiating over their big payday. Atlantic originally offered the members of POD a substantial amount of money for all the albums they had sold so far, but the band thought they could do better and declined the deal. But once the news broke that they had split with their longtime guitarist, Atlantic lowballed the band, thinking POD wasn't the same dream team they had previously been. Sonny would tell the No Jumper podcast that the band was offered a substantially less amount of money, and they chose to accept it. In Atlantic's eyes, they invested very little into POD and had already made their money back, so going forward, they weren't a top priority. In 2006, POD was all over the news, and not just for releasing a new record. Sonny had named one of his daughters Navia, which is heaven spelled backwards. It wasn't a common name in the States, but the Ventura County Star would publish an article about the rise in popularity of the name, specifically amongst African Americans and evangelical Christians, thanks in large part to POD. The band would team up with producer Glenn Ballard to work on their next record, 2006's Testify. Ballard had worked with a wide assortment of artists, including Michael Jackson, Aerosmith, and No Doubt. Ballard was supposed to produce their previous album, but the schedules didn't line up. POD would also get some help from a singer in the studio named Katy Perry.
Let me just check one thing real quick.
Smith and No Doubt.
Okay.
Ballard was supposed to produce their previous album, but the schedules didn't line up. POD would also get some help from a singer in the studio named Katy Perry, who was trying to rise up the ranks of Christian music, but she hadn't yet had her big break, but she had before.
Ever heard of her? Katy Perry? They fucking worked with Katy Perry when she was trying to do the break for this band. They are fucking legends. What the fuck?
Brendan Ballard years prior. So POD wanted a female vocalist for the song Goodbye for Now, and Ballard suggested Perry. Perry wouldn't just appear on the track, but she's featured pretty prominently in the music video, and she did several live performances with the band, including performing with them on Jay Leno's Tonight Show. Many articles simply dismissed Perry as a backup singer, but the members of POD set the record straight, saying that she had actually been invited to perform on the song, and she had paid her dues as a musician. Goodbye for Now would top MTV's program TRL and would peak at number 48 on the Hot 100 chart, and it would be the only single that seemed to make an impact from the album. Testify would end up going gold. Sonny would tell the No Jumper podcast that the band was scheduled to get a huge advance for what would have been their 5th record for Atlantic, but they walked away. The band wasn't feeling like a top priority at Atlantic, and they simply negotiated a deal to walk. However, there was one condition. Atlantic wanted a greatest hits album. POD soon underwent another lineup change, with Jason Truby leaving the band and original guitarist Marcos Curiel rejoining the group. POD would return in 2008 with their first album with the guitarist since 2001 Satellite, called When Angels and Serpents Dance. The album would debut at number 9 on the Billboard charts. Throughout the 2010s, POD would release several more albums, starting with 2012's Murdered Love, an album that harkened back to their traditional sound that saw them team up with producer Howard Benson, who had actually worked on their first 2 Atlantic releases. But the album would cause some controversy with the song I Am, which featured the F word. The swear was never said, but it's actually implied in the song. POD would release an acoustic record of past songs in 2014 and came back the following year with an album of new material, a concept record titled The Awakening. Sonny would state in a press release about the record, every song ultimately explores a character dealing with life, making mistakes, fighting, trying. POD would release what would be their latest record in 2018 with Circles, which featured the group working with production duo Heavy. In the years since, the band has toured in 2021 celebrating Satellite's 20th anniversary. POD have most recently announced their latest record, Veritas, due out sometime later this spring. That concludes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed my look at POD.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow. Who is this guy? Thank you. Like, it doesn't happen often, but like, I want to fucking thank the guy personally. God damn. Thank you so much. Maybe.
POD would have Christian popularity as in children and the religion who would both unite today because you guys requested it, heads with Christians who you think might have actually embraced them. Today, because you guys requested it, let's talk about the history.
I don't know who it is. I just feel like it did such a beautiful documentary about POD. What the fuck? It is such a beautiful. Wow. Wow. Actually, you know a lesson about being grateful. Goddamn this dude. Well, thank you, stranger. Thank you, stranger, for this amazing, absolutely amazing documentary. I didn't thought I would absolutely be in so much disbelief and so shocked by how great this documentary is. And goddamn, POD, the fucking band is actually like so much more than I thought, you know, like so much stories. And because like I told you, like you listen to the songs and actually like you can feel like, but you know what's great, you know, it's like I listen to all their to a lot of their songs and without really like thinking too much of their history, you know, like, and it just connects, you know, it just connects. And when it connects like that, it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling where it's just like, wow. So these were the guys that were like that I was like singing the lyrics of. Like these were the guys that like I watched the clip the clips of, like these guys. God damn. Let me just take a small break. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. There's still a couple that I want to check out. Okay. We are gonna like do some more chill stuff now. Like this is way more chill.
This video is brought to you by Facebook Gaming. We're building the world's gaming community. Join us and help shape a creator-first gaming platform where you can build your own community around the games you love to stream. As the new year brings endless possibilities for sucking even more than the last one, watch as a game pushes new technology to its very limits and f***s the bed so thoroughly that they needed to burn the mattress and the house along with it. Cyberpunk 2077. Experience the most anticipated game since Cup and Ball 2. As CD Projekt Red cashes in on the goodwill they earned with The Witcher 3. To firing up an insane 8-year-long hype machine of trailers, marketing, and celebrity cameos.
You're breathtaking!
All selling you the idea that this game would change your life. And apparently that's pretty much all they were doing. Because what actually came out was a half-baked Deus Ex GTA mashup that still delivered the realism of living in a dystopia. Not cool, not fun, and everything's broken. Discover one of the most cursed launches in gaming history as Cyberpunk comes out in a Y2K-style disaster despite repeated delays. With more bugs in every nook and cranny than a sequel to SimAnt. From the open world, to the UI, to the goddamn character creation screen. To the point where you can't take the story seriously because every cutscene showcases a brand new horrifying glitch. And that's assuming you have a system powerful enough to run it. As last-gen console owners are punished for being poor, with a game that runs like Red Dead 2 on an Engage, in a release so catastrophic that if it were an animal, it would be more humane to shoot it just to put it out of its misery, which basically happened. Okay, wow, you know it's bad when you're pulled from the same stores that still sell WWE 2K20. Explore the depraved metropolis of Night City, an impressive-looking open world full of neon lights, monolithic skyscrapers, and colorful denizens that warp in and out of existence without a moment's notice, where you'll quickly learn to ignore everything except your next waypoint. Plus, there's nothing to interact with other than shops. Or you can do the extremely cyberpunk thing of helping the police? Until you stumble into one of the side quests they actually worked on.
I killed Tiger Crow boss on purpose. World best surgeon, make no mistake.
That will have you exploring the meaning of identity, God, and consciousness. All while beating people to death with a giant dildo. In an open world that actually has some good flavor, buried under a ton of bull that it seems like they threw in at the last minute to make their game feel less empty. You know, there's nothing more cyberpunk than driving your employees like slaves to make more money than God off a broken open world game. I wonder if they use laser whips on them. Sink your teeth into the real meat of 2077, the storyline, where glimpses of the masterpiece this could have been occasionally peek out of the glitch-ridden haze as you jack into the eyes of V and choose from a handful of backstories that don't matter after like the first hour, then end up as a street thug anyway, who's in trouble with a big corporation after botching a job that ends up with you slamming Keanu Reeves into your head, which is a lot less cool than it sounds, and also is killing you, forcing you to buddy cop with him through all manner of Blade Runner-y nonsense, and eventually join him on his quest to stick it to the man, in a narrative that's overtly anti-capitalist, despite being an extremely corporate AAA game, basically Rage Against the Machine of gaming.
Minus the charisma. An impressive
But that still occasionally delivers a cerebral experience that shows off what we loved about CD Projekt games in the first place. In between the levitating, T-posing, and every fixer in the game trying to sell me their used Honda Civic. The only reason to drive anywhere is to hope the physics glitch out and fire me into the sun. Get ready to cyber a whole bunch of punks as you blast your foes away with homing bullets, shoot them through walls, or just tear them apart with your bare cyber hands, with competent shooting that's surprisingly boring for a game about the techno future, melee that's just floaty garbage, and a hacking system that lets you kill everyone in a room just by looking at them. In combat that's insanely easy as long as you never wander away from where the game thinks you should be. But that's satisfying enough when you've got the techno pumping and you've got deviants to shoot. That poor soul got assigned to review Cyberpunk on PS4. So choose those custom genitals and gather your chew.
I fucking got it on PS4. It was horrible. Nah, it was playable, but like, god damn.
For one of the most botched and polarizing launches since No Man's Sky. That, much like No Man's Sky, might turn out to be a really good game if you give them several years to unfuck it. And until then, well, at least we have some of the most hilarious glitches of all time. I mean, how can you stay mad at that? Starring V for Vendetta, Kiss Your Homies Goodnight, Joy, CeeLo Green, Hattori Hanzo, Apple Bottom Jeans, Girl with the tattoos, Cyber Cougar Down, Robocock, and Johnny Mnemonic. Daikatana 2077. You know the most unrealistic part of this game is that there's no way someone doesn't have a crotch gun. This video is brought to you by...
Okay, this was great. This was great. Let me just fuck. Okay. Let's keep on going.
From the studio that brought you Cyberpunk 2077 and the various apologies for Cyberpunk 2077.
I and the entire leadership team are deeply sorry for this.
Comes another attempt at Cyberpunk 2077. But don't worry everyone, they totally fixed all the bugs. Well, almost. Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. Revisit the game that disappointed you 3 years ago, except it's been spruced up by the best Ripper Doc in town. And no one will shut up about how it's actually good now, which probably feels like a nice change to CD Projekt Red, since the last time people wouldn't stop talking about Cyberpunk. It's because it was plagued with more bugs than a literal plague of bugs. Dive back into Night City once again as V, a badass merc with a terminal case of imaginary friend.
Never mind the testicles, tell him to keep those hands attended to.
Who must face down futuristic terrors in the new story of Phantom Liberty, like AI-powered global destruction, whether or not we can trust the government, and not being able to romance a sexy holographic waifu. This really is a dystopia. Then reenact the plot of Escape from New York in this love letter to cheesy 80s action flicks. Except instead of rescuing President Donald Pleasance, you've got a liberal boomer's idea of what Hillary Clinton gets up to in her spare time. Then play buddy cop with Fed-turned-bouncer Idris Elba, who's doing what he does best. No, not DJing. Speaking so you can't tell whether or not he's trying to sound American.
Killed 2 innocent local runners. I have zero sympathy for this piece of shit.
Didn't he sound way more American than this in The Wire?
You taking notes on a criminal conspiracy? What you thinking, man?
And he sounds way more British than this normally, right?
Don't come in with your English accent. It doesn't sound very
You
gangster.
audition?
Wait, is completely British? Is a Brit?
Is it just bad voice direction? How is
I will
this
have never
the biggest mystery in
noticed.
the whole game? Together, you'll take on the mean streets of Dogtown, Night City's newest neighborhood, which is full of brand new tests of your skills. Unless you're one of those freaks who managed to complete the game when it came out the first time. In which case, just go back to beating off guys with your massive dildo club like you're Andre the Giant at a sex store. In an over-leveled massacre so one-sided that you'll almost start to feel bad for mowing these dummies down. Okay, not really. Dive back into Cyberpunk 2077 with refreshed robo-eyes as CDPR improves their perk systems and AI, adding a bunch of different powers, some sweet Witcher-themed content, and a boosted cyberware system that lets you get more shiny in Chrome than Fury Road. But most importantly, throwing in a bunch of mechanics from Edgerunner so that you can be in your feelings while you add points to your trades. I'm not crying. They're just cutting cyber onions somewhere.
I'm sorry.
Once you clean yourself up, suffer through another newly added feature, Vehicular Combat, which forces you to aim a gun while driving, and is about as challenging as texting behind the wheel, with a slightly lower body count. Of course, if you're getting really frustrated, you can always give up and get out of the car. Sorry guys, I'm just being a responsible driver. And that means keeping my hands at 10 and 2, and always keeping the camera in third person. You know, the driving challenges aren't great, but it could be worse. It's not like they added a water level or anything. Oh, you wet son of a bitch. So strap on your net running suit, toggle nudity off before hitting that go live button, and get ready to play through the best comeback since No Man's Sky in a stellar RPG experience that finally lives up to the Cyberpunk name with an intriguing story, compelling characters, and deeply fun combat, while providing an experience that a lot of AAA releases can only dream of. A game that actually works. Sure, it took years, but that's still a better track record than most of EA's catalog. Starring V 2.0, John Dick, Freebird, Saul Goodman, all the President's Cybermen, G.I. Joe, the French, Shapeshifter, I hardly know her, all the characters you were supposed to meet 3 years ago, and Grimes, doing even more Grime stuff. Cyberpunk 2077, but for real this time, we swear. You know, honestly, this game is great for my anxiety. My ridiculous fashion sense makes me fit in. My terrible driving is inconsequential, and all my friends reply to my text immediately. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Comment below on...
Alright.
From the visionary director who only makes big visionary hits or big ambitious disasters comes the clunky theatrical cut of his 80s classic, improved by a director's cut 10 years later and further refined by his final cut in 2007. We good to go, Ridley? Sure you don't want to go mess with the ending again? Throw the voiceover back in?
In history books, he's the kind of cop used to call black men
Probably not. Blade Runner. In 1982, audiences knew Harrison Ford as the charming rogue Han Solo, or
Wait, that's not the Blade Runner I want to watch. Okay. Let's check this out.
from the visionary director behind that movie where Amy Adams talks to tentacles.
You. Who are you?
Comes a critically acclaimed sequel that dares to ask provocative questions like, what is a soul? What is the nature of love? And, hey, where's everybody going? Hello, we got Gosling here. You guys like Gosling, right? Blade Runner 2049. For 40 years, audiences have been astonished by the prescience of 1982's Blade Runner, which may have predicted a future where the Soviet Union survived, flat screens were never invented, and wars were fought by intelligent androids, but did predict a world where every sci-fi movie and TV show was a cerebral, ponderous mind about artificial intelligence that's so weighed down with importance, all the characters talk at half speed.
Makes one feel desire.
So what you saw didn't happen.
Many is the night I dream of cheese. I do mind. Unannounced visits. You police.
Return to the world of Blade Runner 30 years later, a grim dystopia where replicants are still hunted down by the LAPD. A reboot-friendly Great Blackout has wiped out any information that could potentially move the plot forward.
Pre-blackout. That's gonna be tough.
And meet K, a new kind of replicant that can't ever go rogue and turn on his masters.
We don't run. Only older models do.
Until he totally goes rogue and turns on his masters.
What the
No way.
Ryan Gosling disappears into a brilliant performance where he says very little,
You have anything more to say?
barely emotes,
They'll be coming after me soon.
Do you remember anything? You have any memories from before?
You look lonely.
and spends most of the film by himself, just kind of wandering around. Wait, has every Ryan Gosling character in the last decade been a replicant? This explains so much.
You gonna go beat him up for me? Last stunt guy? Huh?
Original star Harrison Ford returns as Rick Deckard, the maybe replicant Blade Runner, who, like a true deadbeat dad, abandoned his child and ran away to live in Vegas. He'll take longer to show up in the movie than he would at a celebrity charity event, then give his most lively and energetic performance of the decade. So he's at about a 5.5. He'll face off against cruel technologist Jared Leto, who finally got a chance to show up in a sequel. Plus, he'll be reunited with his true love, Rachel. And, oh, wow, yikes. That is, well, but there are lots of other women characters in the movie. It's not like they're all badasses or sex objects who get killed to move the story along. Like Robin Wright as badass Lieutenant Joshi. She'll... Okay, well, there's Love, the badass evil replicant who's determined to... Okay, there's Joy, an artificially intelligent hologram programmed to please men, and then dies. I love you. All right, how about Mariette? She's a prostitute.
Oh, you don't even smile.
But she lives. She makes it through the movie, I think. You know, I had to go to the bathroom like twice, so I really don't know. So finally, clear out some time for this epic, beautifully realized second chapter to one of the most influential sci-fi stories of all time that delivered the original storytelling audiences demanded as an alternative to interchangeable blockbusters, then didn't show up to support it at all.
Who'd you bring? No one.
Because this movie isn't just about mindless robot fistfights, it's a high-minded meditation on the ethics and reasoning behind robot fistfights, okay? Yeah, you punch that robot. We'll figure out later if it has a soul. Starring Special K, Living Alone, Solo, E-Girls, 30 Seconds to Mars. No, really, that's how long it takes in the future. Princess Buttercup, The Terminatrix, Dave Bautista, and My Little Pony, Hardship is Tragic. Buds, baby. You know, it's really too bad that this movie didn't do better. Villeneuve probably won't get another shot at reinventing another classic sci-fi property. Huh. Well, it'd probably be smaller scale, to gauge audience interest at first. Are these guys laundering money for the cartel or something? Peons assemble. I'm sorry. Your answer.
All right, this is great. Just... Alright.
Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of internet.
Oh my god. He's a little sick. What's going on, little buddy?
This person did a study to see how accurate our eye and foot placement is when walking.
I see this math and I'm just like, bro, like, I struggle to fucking like make myself meals, you know, like and to fix myself a diet in the fucking like schedule. And I see this. The fuck?
The muzzle blast from this gun is deflecting the rain from falling on it.
Oh, this is cool. Wow, what the fuck? Oh, he doesn't want the toy.
A photographer placed a mirror in the Amazon rainforest to see the reactions from animals.
Oh, this is so interesting. I'm so curious. Oh.
These people created the ultimate table for table tennis nerds. It shows you every little stat you would want to know about improving your game.
God damn. Table tennis is like such a sport that is
this
like
rhino charged at this car.
Like table tennis is like such a sport that looks like nothing, and it's actually like so fucking broken and fun at the same time. Like these people like are just like fucking mental about it, but at the same time it looks so simple. It looks so simple. Table tennis. What could go wrong? You know? Like, and then you see what the fuck they can do, and you're like, oh.
But luckily,
anyway.
nobody got hurt.
No, stay. Stay firm, stay fast.
This person created a way to travel with your cats without putting them in a pet carrier. It's pretty much just a straitjacket, but it doesn't seem to bother them too much.
Aww.
This is what a reindeer migration looks like in Sweden. This is what it looks like when you add food coloring and a dissolving tablet into a water blob in space.
Damn.
That's in this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.
That was good. All right. What the? Oh no! Not in the lava! Oh no! This is... If it's the vibe, it could be... What the fuck? A classic.
I'm scratching his back and all. Scratch, 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 scratch.
This is so cute. And she's so cute.
Scratch.
They're both so cute. Okay, compared to fucking like... Oh no. Oh! What the fuck? Hello. No. This duck, look at the duck. The duck is unconcerned completely. It doesn't care.
Long live the king.
Oh!
Sorry.
What the fuck? Oh my god. Hey. This is beyond stupid.
Yo, is it me or did Burger King do me fucking filthy, bro? What the fuck is this? Might as well eat a fucking egg.
Seen him pull up on him real quick. Hey, fam, you about to go hoop? Hey, my boy, we had a quick question. No disrespect. Hey, what size shoe you wear, fam? What size shoe you wear? Oh, this is 21. Why? Oh, damn.
Oh my god, look at this little dog. It's chill. Oh, we're just vibing.
Piccoletto, vieni qui. Tieni, to. Non fai il timido, esci fuori. Eccolo.
Why are you gonna pan out there?
Oh my god. No, look, so chill. Watch him miss. Watch him miss everything. Watch it. Told you. He has a toad. He has a toad on his.
James. Which way did he go?
Oh my fucking god. No.
My heart bleeds black blood for you, and it's like a lock that will never be unchained.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for the people that like missed the legendary moment, are you ready? This is the best moment of the video. You're not ready. Don't forget to unsubscribe, leave a dislike, and leave me a beautiful a hateful comment. Thank you so much.
Kai.
Oh my! It's not square with dice.
Yo, hit the vape, bro.
All right. This is it. This is it for the stream. This is it for the stream. I think. It's been great. I'll see you another time. And as always, be toxic.